Welcome back everyone to DGFX at the Circuit of the Americas. Yes, this is it, the 6-hour race of this season here at beautiful Austin, Texas. 3 hours done, we are in here for the next 3 hours. That is myself, Stefan Schlacher, alongside Adam Lindgren to copy the GTE Pro cars and Dawson Brock to copy to cover the LMP2 class here today. And Sean Ambrose, the guy, the myth, the legend, he is in for the whole 6 hours to do the director duties. Now, a very interesting development of the LMP1 class lead. We actually do have the replay, and that is quite a biggie. Satellite Racing and SKS Tribute Racing both in a horrible accident with a lapped LMP2 car. There's the replay for you on track, and Dawson, talk us through that one.
Yeah, an interesting situation. It looked like the braking, the LMP1 car just checks up a little bit too much. It's a tough situation there with all those cars around you. You don't exactly know who's going to brake when, and it's really tough, especially with these LMP2 cars. They really don't have the brakes that these LMP1 cars have. They're both very different systems. These LMP1 cars, especially that Audi, doing all of its regen on the braking, so the braking very finicky on these machines. Really hard to adjust mid-braking zone.
Now, Brandon Gurasi, he actually also had a little bit of trouble exiting the pit lane, got a little bit collected by a GTM car that didn't expect him to be there, as Ryan Walker does exit the pit lane in 6th place, and Brandon right into pit lane again. That's Satellite Racing, number 64. 1 lap done, seems to have again some damage as Iker Stefania, 8th place in the LMP2 class, pits out of the
64 car in for another stop. Now this is one of the cars in that initial wreck. We'll see if they're pitting, I believe, just for maybe a little bit more repairs. We will have to see.
Since we are at the halfway point right now, let's actually run you through the top 5 of each class right now. Because of the wreck that we have seen, PCDC Motorsports Argon, they are in the charge of this field right now. Started from 5th, they have about a 3-second lead right now over 2nd place, which is Element Sim Racing Fire. 3rd place, the sister car of the PCDC Argon car, it's PCDC Motorsports Xenon, but they already have about 30 seconds of a difference there to 2nd place. In 4th place we have Hellraiser's Gluttony. They started from 3rd place, so they are pretty much holding stable, trying to make count for what they have. But the big story of the race is pretty much 5th and 6th place to Team Heusenfeld, number 78. They started 11th overall and have gone their way up to 5th place. And a quick mention also, the Leo Racing team, the number 47, started 1st place, ran into some early troubles and are coming back. They're fighting back very hard, they're fast, they're mighty, and they really want to do it. 1 minute and 2 seconds back in the leaders, 6th place right now. However, Dawson in the LMP2 is a little bit of a different story.
Yep, right now the LMP2s are going through some pit stops right now in the field, so our order is getting shaken up as we speak. But as of right now, what it looks like is Nomad Sim Racing in 1st place. They started 5th in this race and have had a solid run so far. Doing a great job keeping that car out of trouble. Now down in 2nd place, Team Heusenfeld. We know these guys are fast. Ooh, we have
Dawson. I have to pull you away because
wow.
The leaders just wrecked in the GT Pro category, and it's caused a big bottle up in the P2s as well. This is Marcus Simonson outbraking himself into Thomas Harrison, and those two getting together at the end of the straight.
I tell you what, I saw it just happen because this all happened in front of that second place HPD car. And look at that swarm of cars, just cars everywhere. And the backup is still going on as we speak for Ronnie Fantini. He's still trying to work his way through traffic alongside other LMP1 cars. This place is just hectic. I was in the car earlier and it never, like, you've just got cars coming from all over, all angles. We'll see. Hopefully it kind of spreads out and you can get a little bit more breathing room. So Huiskenveld and your third place car, your CQR club, actually, have we had a pass? I believe so. The CQR car has hopped the Huiskenveld Racing for second place. So Daniel Kraft has that machine up in second now, Huiskenveld third. Then we go to Adequate Racing. They are in fourth with Edward Lack in the car, and then rounding out the top 5 in LMP2 German Sim Racing, Julian Ogan.
All right, then we get... Oh, looks like we got another pass going on right now in the LMP2 class. Oh my goodness, that's very close between...
The nice thing for these guys right now is they have open track. They don't have to compete with the traffic or get caught up. You won't see any dirty passes. These guys have open track to work with.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the GT Pro class now. We have MB Esports Racing in the lead, as we just saw, having a little bit of a moment with Hell Racers Heresy behind them. Those two guys have been very close for a while, but now that that accident has happened, Hell Racers Heresy has fallen back into the clutches of Kinetic Racing Velocity with Mark Torres behind the wheel. Mark Torres on a hard charge there in that BMW and trying to get up there and take that second place away now. Behind them, we have the F4H Racing Redgate driver with Eric Grove, who's 20 seconds behind that battle, and he's actually got competition from the Team Huiskenveld 248 of Johannes Schafranca, and Schafranca's been struggling a little bit ever since coming out of the pits since the driver change, and has been holding station in 5th, but it's not exactly where he'd like to be. He's gotten passed a couple times on track for position.
In the GTM class, it's TSB Racing, hashtag Reipenmove. In first place, that's 41st overall, 13 laps down on your overall leaders. Graphite Racing M are in second place, about 23 seconds behind your leader. In third place, we have Real Pixel Motorsports 3. Behind the wheel there is Matthias Boimler, but he already has, what is that? That's about nearly 30 seconds back on, actually, World of Sim Racing Team Junior now is in fourth place. No, that's just a glitch on my timing. Fourth place, Usagi Racing, Markus Leitinen behind that Audi right now. In fifth place, one of the Pineapples, it's Fresh Pineapple Racing, Peter Parnell behind that wheel, about 6 seconds behind the fourth place driver of Markus Leitinen. We also already have a few cars that are DNF'd, namely Talk Freak Racing Sunset LMP1, Talk Freak Racing Maggots, that's GT Pro car, Funky Pineapple Racing, Fach Autotech Sim Racing, both LMP2 cars, then Hexa Racing Team Purple, and S-Rock Racing didn't even start this race here today.
Going now to that battle that we were looking at a little bit before. We thought it was a 2-car, now it's turned into a 3-car battle with Ryan Walker putting pressure on the German Sim Racing car of Julian Ogen. So far it has looked to be pretty calm, drivers just hitting their marks, staying consistent, not making any desperation moves. We saw the fourth place car, the Adequate Racing of Edward Lack. He was pulling away from the fifth place car, but now it looks like that gap has come up, and now they're going to come up on some traffic, so this should make a couple of passing opportunities, as we're going to see, and everybody checks up.
Yeah, and don't forget about your own teammate, Dawson. Ryan Walker in the Talk Freak Racing corkscrew. He closed that gap and nearly looking into the inside of Oyen there.
Yeah, Ryan's done a great job, and I can't wait to see where we end up in this car. We've got it in a good position, and hopefully we can just keep staying consistent.
And as you're seeing ahead, we got the two LMP2s battling with the two GT Pros, and the two GT Pros, those are our leaders as well. That's Thomas Harrison and Marcus Simonson, and they're also battling for the lead. So this is a inter-class battle for really important points positions right now.
Yeah, and racing around like your leaders in another class, you always know you just want to take your extra time, make sure you don't put them in a bad spot. As Ryan getting really close there. But yeah, no, you always have that little extra care when racing around another group of leaders who are battling.
Speaking about being close, that's also the LMP1 lead, and they're closing in on the two leaders of the GT Pro class. Probably gonna be overtaking them by the end of this backstretch. So that might pose a little bit of an interesting question, as there's a pass for... no, never mind, that was just a lapping maneuver by Owen.
In the LMP1 cars, if you saw the 18 machine of Mateo, he was able to use, they have that electric system to give him a boost, and he's able to get past those two GTE leaders so that he doesn't have to deal with them now here in the stadium section of the track.
Dawson, it looks like Team Huisingfeld 248, Johannes Schafranka just had a spin coming down towards the back straight.
Oh, and that actually is an incident happening before, in front of him, and he was able to avoid that.
Whoa, that was, oh my goodness.
That was Linton Swarby and John Haynes of SpeedTech SimSport number 339. Both, that was...
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
and he's going through the corner there, and he gets caught up, looks like, by the faster car behind him, and yeah, they just have some door-to-door contact coming around this corner here.
My goodness, did the FRH Racing Redgate car there, was it able to avoid John Haynes? That must have been a miracle move by Eric Grove. Wow, what a avoidance there by everyone. Just, yeah, unlucky, unsighted by Schafranka there in the hoisting belt number 248 behind that LMP1. Not able to avoid the Audi and sadly crashing into that one, but able to continue. So, yeah, not too much harm done in that one.
And I can report, while this has been going on, we've had a couple of pit stops. We have PCDC Motorsports Argon coming into the pits as well in the LMP1s, as well as MB Esports Racing in the GTE Pros, and that is the car that was battling for second place in that class in the GTE Pros, and for second place in the class in the LMP1s as well.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is quite an early stop for PCDC. Yeah, I think it is a little bit early there for Argon. Either way, they are out and running again in fourth place, as also Huisenfeld. They changed drivers now under Rajkovic in the car.
Oh, and P4 LMP1, there's a pass going on right now between Leo Racing Team and the PCDC Argon that just came out of the pits. Looks like Leo Racing Team's going to try and take that position away, but looks like Argon saved up more boost and deploys it down the straight.
Oh, and now he comes back across using a little bit more boost to save the position. If we can stay on this, I wonder if that Porsche now, using that little extra boost, if he's going to have enough here for the rest of the lap.
As Element Sim Racing fire Tobias Gruber now in pit lane, they're changing tires as we speak. So probably the lead will come over to Xenon also in pit lane. Hellraiser's Gluttony seems to be the next car over the start-finish line, and actually they do drive past the pit lane. So Hellraiser's Gluttony now in first place. However, where is Argon? That is going to be the question. And they're actually past Element Sim Racing Fire, but that just about. And yeah, it seems like they do get held up ever so slightly right now by the Leo Racing Team as they make their way past some traffic. Oh, that was quite some shutting off a door.
It looks like these GTM cars are needing to take their line in order to stay on track, and these LMP1s are getting the short end of the stick here with the doors getting closed on them right now. It's really difficult when you're in the LMP1s to figure out where those GTMs need to go. In the GTMs, you need to take that line or else you fall off the circuit and get more incidents. And we've already seen one car get penalized because of going over the incident limit today. So that's definitely something they have to take into consideration.
Speaking about passing, we have someone with experience in here in this race. Dawson, how is it LMP2 versus the GT3s? How is that class interaction, especially through the S's?
Well, the S's are really tough, and you know, I felt like our car was great in traffic. I think we made a ton of time up, and I think the big key to that was I had a spotter telling me exactly when to go, when to not go, and you know, as a race car driver, you always want to make that pass, that last second pass, just kind of hit that gap, but always having that spotter back there telling you, hey, have patience, set it up for the run out of this corner, and don't make that silly mistake. That was huge for us, and you got to know when to set them up and when not to, when to push the button and when not to. It's a big speed difference with these GT3 cars, but you got to share the road and respect each other.
Respect each other, that's the biggest part of endurance racing, in my opinion. Always respect the other class, and it's gonna respect you, because if you are on the good side of them, they are gonna let you by a little bit easier. I sometimes feel like, as we are watching quite a big gaggle there of cars, as SRT Esports LMP Red and German Sim Racing LMP1 are making their pit stops. They're 1 and 2 laps respectively down on the LMP1 leaders.
And the driver who was battling for the lead in the GT Pro category, the MBE Sports Racing number 220 in 10th place in the GT Pros, is watching a battle now between Graphite Racing and Kinetic Racing Velocity. As they go through the corner ahead of him, they're side by side, blocking off Robert Raytre from trying to get through right now.
And look at that battle. Kinetic Racing Velocity versus Graphite Racing Pro. Julian Bell versus Matthias Magnussen. Not too far behind Nick Madsen. Woo!
That was close.
The chunky pineapple going a little bit the hard route there on that pass, I would say. Either way, that really let Nick Madsen close in on this P8 battle.
Nick Madsen's going to have a great toe off this as if he can get a good run. Looks like he gets a decent exit. Everyone kind of equal there on pace, but it looks like Kinetic Racing Velocity has a decent straight line speed there. But look at this draft that MB Esports is getting as we watch Robert Raytre go around the outside finally of these three. He's going to try and get it done in the braking zone here. And it looks like Nick Madsen's going for the inside pass.
What a pass. Does he make it stick? Yes, he does. Matthias Magnussen with quite some velocity, but not enough. When braking, and Nick Madsen, much more braver there, overtakes him with, I would nearly say, quite some ease.
It looks like this MB Esports Racing BMW M8 is just really feeling comfortable underneath Nick Madsen's foot, especially the left one as he brakes really hard for those corners. They've got this setup down. It looks like they're feeling very comfortable in these GT cars today.
Graphite Racing Pro a little bit sideways out of the penultimate corner for the 93rd time as they cross the start and finish line to start lap 94. Nick Madsen trying to make a second move up onto turn 1. Let's see what happens. He dives to the inside yet again, but way too far back, and has to stay behind his Julian Bell a little bit wide out of turn 1.
I'm pretty sure that was just a Brock off Ronnie Fantini and Garyasa. Oh my goodness, that was really close between the two of them.
Yeah, that is class interactions at its best. Brandon trying to go to the inside of the LMP2, the LMP2 trying to go to the inside of Nick Madsen, who's trying to go around the outside of Julian Bell, and he makes it happen here. Now comes Kinetic Racing. Matthias Magnussen to the inside of Julian Bell. 3 wide to go to turn 10. And does he make it happen? No, gets a little bit blocked off by the Team Heisenfeld LMP1 and has to stick behind.
Yeah, I think that was just a moment where Julian Bell just tried to stay to the outside and make sure that those LMPs could get through, but that opened the door to Nick Madsen. That's something you need to keep in mind when you're racing these GT Pro cars or any of these GT cars on the slower 2 classes. You just have to keep in mind that if you open that door up and you've got someone right behind you, they're going to jump through when those LMPs go through as well.
Yeah, that is a very scary thing as a driver, because you're sitting there and you want to have that patience, but when you have that guy right behind you, up tight, giving that little room or backing off a little bit can cost you the position in the long.
Stefan Overgaard now in pit lane as he heads over the wheel to Gabriel Rus in the Kinetic Racing speed car. They are, let's see, what is that? P6? No, P7 now in the GT Pro class.
The German Sim Racing LMP2 cars just missed the pit road entrance. Just a little mistake. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. Just overshoots the little gap. You'll see on the replay. The driver's trying to get every little bit that they can. Just locks up the tires. Luckily, missing that little tire barrier that could have cost them the race. But able to fix the mistake, but that's going to cost that. He was one of the 3 cars that we were watching earlier. That's going to cost him some time. We'll see once the pit cycles all go through where he sits compared to the other cars.
I can hear Julian in my back of the head shouting a little bit about that mistake as he has handed over the car to Oliver Kemesant to now also take some towers for that stop. So yeah, LMP2, the German Sim Racing LMP2 car taking towers and switching drivers for the next stint. For the lead, this is PCDC Motorsports Argon versus Hellraiser's Gluttony leading this lap. So PCDC Argon very much hot on their tail. Let's actually compare the lap times real quick. That's about 1.3 seconds faster the last lap around.
There's a lot of things that can go into that 1.3 seconds in these endurance racing. You get one lap where you get caught up with a bad rack of traffic. It can really slow you down, but you hope maybe in the next lap or the following lap, the other guy behind you gets a bad catch and catches a GT3 car in a really slow corner.
As they actually will have some traffic to deal with soon. 2 LMP2 cars of Ryan Walker and Edward Lake, plus the GT Pro car of Daniel Ferguson, a BMW M8. That one is, as here comes Magnus Fellström. 3 wide, he goes into turn 1, outbraking the LMP2. Never mind, LMP2 outbraking himself. That was Ryan Walker. Around the outside of the 2 LMP2s. Go ahead.
And now you get to these S's, and this is where it gets, see, right there, Adrian getting caught up in the PCDC Motorsports car. Now he has to wait, and he's probably, we'll see if he tries to make the pass here, or if he's going to try and, no. See, a smart move, he's just going to wait it out, and now get the pass done here on this straightaway. See how rough that is. You have to wait that long, and now that Hellraiser's car looks so much smaller in their windshield.
But Dawson, how much boost do you think he used trying to make those moves? It looked like he tried a couple of lunges there. Do you think he used a lot of boost there through the S's?
I don't think so. I think I bet you he had the boost turned off, because in the S's, especially with that all-wheel drive system, when you hit that boost, it really makes the car push, and it does not turn. So I'm gonna guess that he saved his boost up for that long straightaway that he just got off of.
We got a battle. Yeah, between Edward Lack and Ryan G. Walker, this battle has been going on a little bit. And then you got Matthias Magnussen and Julian Bell in the GT Pros right ahead of them as well.
see how he sets up, how Edward's going to set up this corner. I know I had a couple issues here with a car maybe swinging out wide and having to go off the track to avoid contact. It's going to get really tight here for Ryan.
Let's see how Ryan sets this one up. He goes wide, takes the racing line, now dives to the inside of the Graphite Racing. He has the better drive, but it actually, never mind. Adequate Racing had quite an adequate exit there out of the turn and makes it happen to be able to defend his turn. But now the apex, that was quite tight for Edward Lack, but once again able to prevail.
And now we go through the S's. Ryan's going to have to sit in that dirty air from the car ahead, and it is unbelievable how big of a difference it makes from having that clean air versus having a car go around him. And now you see an LMP1 car, even more dirty air coming off of these machines as they produce so much more downforce.
That is Tobias Gruber of the LMP Sim Racing Fire. That was nearly a door bang between Lack and Gruber, but able to avoid that. Lack braking quite a lot later. That opens the door for Brian Walker. Now side by side. This is drag racing at its best. Lack with the better drive out of the turn because he had the wider exit, and Walker has to sit in behind. But maybe with the slipstream he's able to come back. There's also a GTE Pro car that is going to play in, but Walker actually deciding to back off. I think that might have been quite a smart move.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That would have been the choice I made, so good driving there. Fight to live another day. We still have 2.5 hours left in this race. That's a lot of racing to go. You're going to have plenty more opportunities to make that pass happen.
We actually have a battle going on right now between Nils Hundehedge and Eric Grove for P2 in the GT Pros. Looks like Eric Grove is a little bit down on top end speed right now because Nils closes up really quickly on the straights, but it's through these twisty bits right now where it seems like Eric Grove gets an advantage. But look at this battle snaking through as well. This is going to get very tight as they go through the S's.
Woo-wee, that's quite some near door banging there for Niels Hundehegge, as that's also Charlie Carlson of the SRT Esports LMP Red driving past them, and Eric Grove able to go a little bit further ahead of Niels Hundehegge. Let's actually see how the top speed compares between the BMW and the Ferrari, and wow, look at that closing speed.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive right now. For some reason, Niels Hundehegge really has quite a bit of speed over that BMW. It's possible they set up differently. Wow, and look at that, Eric Grove braking quite a bit earlier, but Hundehegge going a little bit deep into the corner.
That was also the chunky Pineapple Racing LMP2 of seine Stoffmehl there. That probably did catch Niels a little bit off guard, as Adam, it also seems like the LMP1 lead is once again very close.
Very, very close. Adrian's got a really good run right now on Wallstrom, and it looks like Wallstrom is just trying to maintain position right now. And this is for the LMP lead for PCDC Motorsports and Hell Racers Gluttony up front. Taking a look, Adrian's got a really good run here. He's going to use a little bit more boost off the straight. Looks like Magnus is going to go defensive on the inside as they go forward. And it looks like Nils is actually making a move on Eric Grove up ahead of them. So these two battles are coming together on track, as we see so often. And now, are they going to get stuck behind through the S's? It does not appear so. It looks like Adrian's going to go through, and that's Magnus is going to go through, Adrian's going to go through, and they're going to get
touch behind between Hundehegge and Grove. A little bit of a net code. Both cars able to avoid the sausage curbs and keep on going. But Eric Grove tried to go side by side through the S. It's not the smartest move, but that's your racer's mind right there, like Dawson mentioned earlier. But yeah, with that, Niels Hundehegge passed for that second place in the GT Pro category, as Adrian Resnes lost a little bit of time to Magnus Wallström in the Hell Racers Gluttony for that LMP1 P1 lead.
We don't need to go there, but the LMP2 lead is starting to heat up, so we may see Daniel Kraft in the CQR Club car making a move here in the next couple laps. We'll have to see what happens. All right, now we're going to take a look at it, and we can see up there in the distance where Kraft has been slowly taking a little bit out of the Nomad lead. Now, I'm not sure if they are on the same pit cycle or not at this point in the race. There's a good chance that they're not. There's so many different strategies you can do in these endurance races, and what I love about this DGFX series is that they have the yellow flags, which really plays into the strategy.
And Dawson, you are right, Nomad did pit 4 laps ago, CQR are already on lap 15 of their stint. So much different pit strategies for these guys, as both LMP1 leaders try to go around Daniel Kraft. Refsness not able to do so, so that's splitting them up ever so slightly. But now, Wallström getting stuck behind Tony Baer, the Nomad Sim Racing HPD there ahead of him. That's gonna allow Adrian Refsness to close in. Whew, nearly make it past her.
And almost made contact as well, because Magnus had to save his car a little bit, and that allows Adrian to get right up behind him. It looks like he's going to try and... Nope, he decides to hold off on the boost right now and just try and get these guys on brakes, it looks like.
This is going to get interesting. Too wide now with Harrison Bingham, the Motav Esport Podcast Pink car, 31st overall for them, right smack middle of the GTE Pro class, as Refsness and Wallström now go past the Wall of Sim Racing Team Junior into turn 12, sorry. But actually, never mind. Refsness not able to do it into the turn, has to do it out of it. Even though we don't have the battle for P1 between PCDC Motorsports, Argon and Satellite Racing plus SKS Tribute, we still have a great battle with Argon and Glutiny for that LMP1 class, as we are taking a look now at GTM.
Yeah, this is the lead battle between Till Norwig and Christopher Shorter, and those two, it looked, yeah, you know, Till has been closing in quite a bit in recent laps. He's only 1 second behind, and so given a couple good straightaways, he'll be right on him.
Yeah, right now, the SRT Esports East BMW between Till Norwig and Christopher Shorter for TSB Racing and Turbium Racing respectively, as it seems like the LMP1s are back at it again. PCDC Motorsports Argon getting a little bit boxed in behind some GT3 cars, as does the Hellraisers Gluttony car.
Yeah,
as they enter the backstretch. Go ahead.
Yeah, Steph, it looks like Magnus really gets a good run onto the back straight. Adrian has to use quite a bit of boost to keep pace with him, but it seems like Magnus has a better understanding of how to take that final corner in those braking zones. And now he's going to put Oliver Chemistat between the two of them as they go into the twisty bits on the back end of the course.
I know with these two LMP1 cars, they're completely different cars, as with like how they drive and where they get their speed is almost making contact. See, now that car getting loose, Adrian's gonna have to wait another corner now to make the pass. Now getting really stuck behind the LMP2.
I think Chemistat was feeling a little bit sorry for that one, as he really made room on the inside for Refsness. Lost a little bit of time, Adrian, there, but I'm pretty sure that PCDC Motorsports Argon has right now the speed over the Porsche of Hellraiser's Gluttony. The question just is, are they able to convert that speed they have in lap time to actually making a pass happen? And right now, I think not.
Yeah, that Porsche is really good at getting up to speed quick, but that Audi has it in the top end, so that's where you're seeing those differences. That Porsche just getting out of some of these corners better.
And Dawson, how important is racecraft compared to raw speed around a track like this, where you're dealing with traffic so often?
I think that the racecraft is much more important. I think if you take an example of our car, we qualified 11th or 12th, somewhere in there. And oh, we have a car spun. Is that a pineapple car? I believe it is. Alexander Gasta looking the wrong way, trying to find a gap to turn around, and now he does.
Yeah, Gasta in P21 overall, P10 in the LMP2 category. He really struggled there. It looks like he spun coming off the front stretch, was it?
That is one of the weirdest places to spin. That is turn 10, the left hand downward kink. You know what? That actually looks like the spin that Sebastian Vettel had a few years back in the rain here. Just in the complete try. Very interesting by Alexander Gasta, not hitting anything, able to find the gap and continue racing.
That is interesting. I have not seen a car get loose there, especially these HPDs where you should be flat out through there. Wonder if maybe tires or something. I know this track is getting warmer as we go on. As in the sim, it is 10:45, so that sun is rising, getting higher and higher. We're up to 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to keep getting warmer here until we see the checker.
Awesome. We got a battle for P7 in the GT Pro category. This is Motive Esports Podcast Line versus Fisher Motorsport, and Fisher's got the inside line as they go through the corner. It looks like he's going to take that position. As Benjamin Fisher on Steven Kempson. And Kempson didn't put up that much of a fight going through the corner, so I think he's thinking about the long-term game. Remember, we still have 2 hours and 20 minutes left to go in this race.
And boy, if you think the racing right now is hectic, we've seen some crazy passes. Within that last 30 minutes, you have, like, the field kind of splits in half. You have the guys who realize that they're not really going to better their position, so they start driving more sensible, and then you have the guys who are right there in the battles, and they start driving way over their heads. They make passes. It's going to be amazing, so stay tuned.
Speaking about passes, that's exactly what Daniel Kraft of the CQR Club wants to do with Tony Baird of Nomad Sim Racing HPD. If you know these two cars, then yes, exactly. We're talking about the LMP2 lead. Oh my goodness, that was close. Kraft nearly rear-ending Tony Baird there going into turn 11. That was mighty close there, Adam.
Yeah, it was. It was very, very close. It looked like it was just a moment of just kind of outbreaking each other and one trying to get better than the other. And actually, they're going to just about go side by side as we come back live. Yeah,
Daniel Kraft better on the brakes, it seems, from the top speed of the LMP2. Tony Baird, though, able to prevail out of the turns. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens between them in the next few turns. By the way, because we said the Fahrenheit, it's 29 degrees Celsius out there on the track, 18 degrees Celsius on the air, in the air rather. The wind, though, 25 kilometers an hour. Let's actually see what that is in the US units. That is 11 miles per hour, and I think, Dawson, that is going to affect your LMP2 car quite a bit.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's not necessarily something that you can adjust for. It's just kind of something that you have to see when you show up, how it feels. It'll change the way a couple corners feel. Maybe through these S's, if the wind is blowing the right way, you'll get a little bit more downforce when pointing a certain direction. But again, it's not something that you can really set up for. It's something that you just have to see when you get out there on track.
Actually, also one thing I noticed is it's quite gusty out there. The wind varies by about 10 to 15 miles per hour in just a matter of... So yeah, that is quite some unpredictable driving by your car in the way of downforce there. But so far, our LMP2 and LMP1 drivers are very skillful handling those conditions out there.
As we're watching this, the Magnus Wallström is really under pressure from Adrian Resmus. And really, Adrian's struggling with the racecraft at this stage. And it looks like Magnus is going to pit.
That is a lap. Let's have a look real quick. That is lap 23 of their stint. So they're 10 laps deeper into their stint than PCDC Motorsports Argon. So yeah, I would say that is the very much end of their pit stop then, as the other cars also pitted at about lap 23. So interesting strategy nonetheless, as we are back to the LMP2 lead battle, and there once again quite a yellow of cars. Nomad getting a little bit boxed in behind 2 GT cars, and now also CQR having a little bit of bodyguards to either side of their car.
I'll be honest, Steph, I'm really impressed with the racecraft that everyone's really being able to show us today. It looks like everyone's being extremely respectful. Woohoo! That was close. Is that Kempson on Gabriel Ruse right there?
That was Kempson on Daniel Kraft, the LMP2 car, nearly getting rear-ended by the boat, the myth, the legend, the BMW M8 of the Motor Esports podcast, #Lime car, as that is now fighting against Gabriel Rose of the Kinetic Racing Speed. That is for 32nd overall or 8th place in position, but we're going to stay on the lead battle for the LMP2 as they get split up by the Porsche of Benjamin Fischer, Fischer Motorsport.
This is going to be interesting because Nomad Sim Racing is going to make the pass here on Alexander Gosta, and Gosta is actually going to give a little bit of a draft to Daniel Kraft as they go down this straight. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a benefit that gives Kraft at the end of the straight.
Can he pull off a crafty move? He cannot, as he's too far away from Tony Baird into turn 12. Tony Baird a little bit sideways as they head into the stadium section behind Philip Roberts, the Talk Freak Racing Mega's car.
It looks like Kraft's car is a little bit tight on entry, but loose on exit. He's getting a lot of wheel spin, and the more you spin those rear wheels, the hotter it gets, and so that can be really difficult as you get further into your run.
Speaking about tires, Dawson, LMP2s and tires, how is that one handling that combination here?
Well, I can't speak for the other teams, but we love to double stint our tires any chance we can get. And I believe we were one of the only cars early on in the race to run the double stint. We did it because the track being colder, there's a lot more grip, and you're able to make up that time. From what I saw, there were a lot of cars that did end up taking tires, but now later on in the stage with the track this hot, we've seen how Kraft is getting loose. Our car was kind of doing the same thing, so I would highly expect everybody to be taking tires on every stop.
Interesting insights there from our former LMP2 racer, now with us here in the booth. Us, that is still Steffen Schlacher right now speaking to you, and Adam Lindgren alongside our director Sean Ambrose doing the whole 6 hours, as we are still about 2 hours away from the finish of this race, and far from finished is the battle in GTE Pro for 8th place.
Yeah, this is between Gabriel Ruse and Steven Kempson. Steven Kempson is really struggling with rear tire grip right now as the track temp continues to increase. It's gone up 10 degrees since we started our stint on this broadcast. So that's a significant amount of increase, and that means that anyone who pitted before that and has pitted since, these tire pressures might be a little off for this condition. So Gabriel Ruse doing a really good job of hanging with Steven Kempson. He's not getting a good enough lift off the corner, so he can't make passes on long straights like these.
Gonna dive it up into, this is a really tough corner to make a pass in. Roos gonna do his best. Good effort. But boy, that is a very tough spot to make that pass in, where you have those two corners set up side by side. Really hard to find a good line to go.
Dawson, it's a really good thing that Kempson had his head on a swivel, because if he wouldn't have seen that Ruse went inside, he could have turned into that apex and clipped him, and that would have sent him around. Oh,
And
good
it seems
run from
like,
Ruse, and Kempson's in.
yeah, I don't know, maybe Kempson did feel his car starting to drive itself a little bit. He was really sideways out of pretty much all of the last few corners they just drove through, as the 288 into the pit stall. Doesn't seem like they do take tires right now, but they do switch drivers. Paul Denton now in the number 288, and I just remembered that these cars do tires and fuel separate.
Typically with the driver swap, they will end up doing tires because the driver swap takes so much time. At least I'm pretty sure. We'll have to see.
And actually, it looks like Daniel Kraft tried to make a pass on Tony Baird going into turn 1 of the last lap. Didn't work out for him, and he lost a little bit of time. But look at the effect of the draft that it's having on Daniel Kraft's car. He's able to close right back up to Tony Baird, even after all of that losing time through the S's because of his hot tires.
In LMP1, you're right now not missing anything as Argon is still leading ahead of Element Sim Racing, about 32 seconds in between those cars because of Hellraiser's glitching and pitting, but Lee Racing Team, that is still the car to watch, number 47, 4th place right now, about, let's say, 47 seconds behind the lead of Argon. So most definitely closing since we started. They have already gained about 20 seconds on the leaders.
So it looks like PCDC Motorsports Xenon is going to make a pass for P2 very shortly on Element Sim Racing Fire of Tobias Gerber for P2 in LMP1. And that's just because I think that the pace is a little bit different because they're on the same stint of tires, so I'm not sure why, but PCDC has had the pace on Element Sim Racing, so it's just possible that Element Sim Racing is just out of tires.
Okay, so for me right now, I don't see a pit stop time for Element Sim Racing Fire, but I think Xenon did take tires and Element Sim Racing didn't, if I remember this correctly. So yeah, either way, Tobias Gruber very much sliding around on his rear tires, so it does seem like Gruber only used tires where nothing isn't, but that doesn't matter because we do have an on-track battle here for that second place.
It looks like Nusing's car is a little bit tighter than Tobias Gruber's just on setup alone, and so I think that might be giving Gruber a little bit of a problem on corner exit with spinning the tires.
Oh, look at that boost.
Harvesting all the way down the straight.
Thank you very much. I take that second place from you now.
Dawson, is that just a matter of not harvesting enough energy over the course of the keeping your energy up over the course of the lap?
What could have really possibly happened was the Element car may have, at the end of that lap, just used an extra too much, maybe defending on the other backstretch, whereas Nossing, instead of using all of that boost, he saved it up to use it all in one. So I'm guessing that the Element car probably used some boost to defend somewhere on in the lap, and it just comes back to bite you when you don't have that
Whoa! Boost. That was nearly a dive and a half from Gruber, but let's see how much boost does Gruber do down this backstretch. And yep, most definitely he does boost more than Nursing, but not too much. And honestly, I think Gruber just didn't boost whatsoever on that front stretch, where Nursing did boost at least a little bit. There's that close call once again from our chopper. Tobias Gruber overtaking LMP2 car there and nearly running into the back of the PCDC Motorsports Xenon.
Looks like MB Esports Racing of Nick Madsen is closing in on SRT Esports East, and these guys are quite different pit strategies. MB Esports pitted about 17 laps ago, whereas SRT Esports pitted about 25 laps ago, so this is just a difference of tires and speed, but this is still really important for MB Esports to get past as quickly as possible, because this is not his battle for position in on strategy. Having trouble getting to the apex, whereas it looks like Flores ahead of him is a little more comfortable. So Madsen might just be saving his stuff a little bit, but yeah, looks like he's getting decent exits. It's just his turn-in is a little bit lacking at the moment.
Coming up behind them is the battle for P5 in the LMP2 class between...
Oh no!
Oh! Able to avoid the car. Hans gonna get stopped. that means that Oliver Kemesat gets away with P5 in LMP2 as we take you to the replay of that spin by Nick Madsen.
Madsen just getting a little bit too deep into that final corner, and a good onboard would be with Hans Gunnar Hansen in 6th place of the LMP2s, because he really saw the worst of this.
That was the Team Vikings Fenderis car, to be precise. And yeah, Nick Madsen, that is one of the issues you can have with the BMW M8. No weight whatsoever over that back tires, especially while braking, and if you brake a little bit too hard, that is your car spinning out, as Daniel Kraft now right behind Tony Baird for that lead in LMP2, as they're also now gonna lap Hans Gunnar Hansen for who is right now in 6th place. And here comes Daniel Kraft, 3 wide down the backstretch. Who can brake later? Is it gonna be Kraft? Yes, it is going to be, but he has the outside lane for that 12th turn and has to concede once again.
Oh, but is he gonna go inside? He is gonna go inside here under Baird, and he's gonna try and make it stick, but he gets a little bit loose. They're both loose. It looks like Baird's gonna have the inside for the next corner.
Watch Kraft try and get a good run. No, he's not going to make the cut down into that corner. We're going to see if he tries to set up a pass here. I highly doubt it, but a good effort by Daniel Kraft.
Tony Baird with a staunch defense, Steph.
Ahead of them, the SRT Esports East car of Jorge Flores dives into pit lane. That means that they have a clear track until they run up to Oliver Kemesat, who is in 5th place. So right now in LMP2, only the top 5 drivers within the lead lap of Tony Baird.
It looks like Kraft is not done with Baird yet. He's been working on him for the better part of 10 laps at this stage, and he just can't get by.
Kraft running over quite heavily, actually, over the first sausage curb. Doesn't seem to have affected his car. Might have been just a little bit of an netcode on my end. Either way, Kraft still going quite heavy for that first place.
You know, it's really important for what Kraft is doing here is just keeping the pressure on Baird. Baird knows he's back there, filling up his mirror, forcing Baird to make defensive moves. Eventually, at some point, the odds are that Baird could run into a mistake that Kraft forces. So it's really important to keep that pressure on him and don't make him comfortable. If that lead car is comfortable, it's really hard to make that pass.
In case you're asking yourself, these two guys are fighting so hard. Is 3rd place catching? Well, yes, they are, but they're still 22 seconds behind this lead battle, so nowhere in danger of attracting a 3rd car to this fight as we're starting to approach the 2-hour mark.
All right, Dawson, thinking race strategy. When is it go time? When does the clock tick over and you think, okay, it's time to stop playing it safe, it's time to start taking risks? Does it approach at this stage in the game, or is it closer to the finish of the race?
So I've heard a bunch of different ideas on this. One of the teams that I've raced with before, we've done 24-hour races where we treat it like a 24-hour sprint race, and we go as hard as we can for 24 hours. That's more of a popular thing at a track like Daytona, where there's not a lot of difficult corners. Me personally, here, I think it depends on where you're at in the situation, right? If you're that Heuskenveld car, you're 20 seconds back from the 2 leaders, I think your go time is right around this 2-hour mark, because you need to start chipping into that gap, or you're not going to close it up. So right now is your go time for him. If you are, say, Daniel Kraft in 2nd place, right behind the leader, your go time doesn't hit until 30, maybe 15 minutes, because you can afford to wait.
Just having to remember the line that one famous Alan McNish once said: we have to take sometimes unnecessary risks to go to do in this 24 hours of Le Mans if we want to win it. And yeah, in that same race he said that he had one of the most horrific crashes that race saw in modern times that actually walked away just with some light bruises.
So we're taking a look right now at Christopher Shorter, who's in the lead of the GT class. He's about 2.5 seconds ahead, his Terbium Racing car ahead of the TSB Racing Ripen Move of Till Norwig. And Norwig, as we know, has had his own issues ever since we started our stint on the broadcast. But Christopher Shorter really being quite consistent there in P1, just holding down the fort at the moment. But it looks like Norwig is on the move.
LMP2, second place, CQR club car now in the pits, going to make his stop here just before the hour. Now this is an unfortunate spot for him because as it sits right now, I don't think he's going to be able to make it on one more stop. I think he's going to have a splash and go here near the end of the run. Whereas the Nomad car is still out there running. We will see how this fuel strategy works out.
They have to save somewhere.
Now, my question is, how much laps can you go in an LMP2 car here? Because the last time Daniel Kraft did pit was on lap, let's see, 90. So 28 laps ago.
That sounds about right. I don't remember the exact number. I just remember running to a certain point and then pitting. But there are a lot of factors here. In DGFX with that yellow flag, what most drivers will do is they will pit a little bit early because if that yellow flag comes out, you don't want to be caught without being able to come in the pits and fuel up. So you pit like 1 or 2 laps early. So if you're a car like that CQR car now, that's low, like they're close to missing it on fuel, you start taking a risk of running that car dry, and if a yellow flag comes out in that time, you're gonna be caught out and put a lap down.
I think I took a big risk, and I did what we never say to do, and I did a little bit of math, and it looks like it's around 50 minutes with an LMP2.
Around 50 minutes. Okay, that sounds about right. I know it's right around there. I think it's closer to 55 if I remember, but we'll see how.
The leader is in.
That also is interesting because if the leader's in, that means that they are short stopping.
The P1
Oh wait,
Argon
it's Iron
car.
Rasmus. Yeah, that is right about where they need to be. 23 laps they can do, and they have hit that lap right now. As also PCD Xenon, they're coming up to the pit entry. Let's see what they do. They're also in lap 23. They go past one more time. Element Sim Racing, on the other hand, third place, drives into pit lane.
And it's a little bit tough for Element Sim Racing because they were chasing down PCDC Motorsports, the leading team ahead, and so Argon looks like they're just coming out of the pits now, and they're going to come out in third position, having been gifted that by Element Sim Racing Fire. And so that's Adrian coming back on the track for his second stint.
The story of the race, the Leo Racing team, once again, they started in first place, had some bad problems, pretty much or nearly went a lap down, fighting their way back. They have closed into 38 seconds on the line, which obviously is a little bit skewed because Argon did pit in. Either way, they are closing in on Xenon, and Xenon is second place. So they have that second place inside Element Sim Racing. They did pit. They actually also did take Taurus Tobias Gruber. That one is the number 71 as Leo Racing, just 2 seconds behind PCD6 Xenon and the virtual, or actually the real LMP1 lead right now, but not the virtual.
Now, for those of you who saw on your timing screens that Chunky Pineapple Racing was falling back, they did not get into an accident. They were serving 2 60-second stop and go penalties for separate moments. No, for two different incident limit breaches. So they have fallen back significantly.
Oh! Whoa, that could have been so much worse. Casper record Graphite Racing Pro exiting pit lane at the number 292, 28th overall. And Oliver Kemesard not realizing that, turning into them and actually having a little bit of a door contact, actually a little bit of a netcode door contact with that one. There is the replay now on your screens.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that is just the nature of this turn 1. Very wide entry, very narrow exit, and yeah, just sometimes two separate lines just meet because of how weird that first turn is.
While we're taking a look at this, PCDC Motorsports Xenon has come into the pits for their pit stop, as well as the P2 second place car came in as well.
Yep, the Torque Freak corkscrew car, they were running in fourth when everything was normal. Now with the pit stops, everything is kind of shuffled through. Also, who has come into the pits, Team Heuskenfeld, they brought in their driver and they made a driver change, Stefan Petrit. He's going to be in the car for the final 2 hours. Torque Freak, the car that you also mentioned being in the pits, they made a driver swap as well. Jake Robson now going to be in the car for the final 2 hours.
Dawson, if you think these guys can go 55 minutes, they're right on the limit. They're going to be 1 minute short.
It's going to be close, and of all of the cars on this strategy, right now the Torque Freak car is the closest. So we'll see, maybe a little bit of saving has to be done to stretch it that 1 extra lap. I would not be surprised if some of those cars are going to the limit and running it dry rather than leaving those extra couple laps in it. I tell you what, if I'm that Nomad car, Tony Barrett, I'm feeling pretty good. You're good on fuel, you don't have to worry about that, and you're in a good spot leading this race. So Tony Baird, right now, definitely not rooting for a caution.
The one guy rooting for a caution right now is Danilo Piazza, Lee Racing Team. Right now, first place on track, about 7 seconds ahead of PCDC Motorsports Argon. However, they have to pit this or a next lap as they're already 24 laps into their stint. But this is going to open up them for a potential second place grab from Hellraiser's Gluttony or PCDC Motorsports Xenon for that third place.
That's guessing that they can run long and take a short stop. Is that right, Steph?
Maybe. Guessing right now, I think actually if they pit right now, let's see, 45 minutes, they have to do 2 stops and a short one. So yeah, it is going to be interesting with Piazza. They are able to continuously run at least a lap longer than their opponents for third and second place respectively. So yeah, this one really is going to come down to the final few laps for the Lee Racing Team, but I don't think they will be able to challenge PCDC Motorsports Argon for that first place.
Leo car looks like bringing it down pit road.
Torque Freak Racing Maggot spinning out of turn 1. That's the number 260s. That's 261. 47th position, taking the inside curb a bit too much. And a single car incident keeps it going.
That car has had a rough day. It was on its roof at one point in this race, so still keeping that car out there and chugging along.
Not only has it been on its roof, but it also had incident breach limit stop and go as well, so they've had trouble. As we're taking a look at the Danilo Piazza come in and switch out with Ricardo Schlavo.
Yeah, Ricardo Schiavon, the faster driver of the two. He did the first 68 laps and now is gonna probably jump in and do the last 2 hours by himself. So Ricardo Schiavon, the fastest driver in this field, back out at it again. He was in qualifying about a full second ahead of SKS Tribute, who started in second place, but sadly are already out of this race. As Lee Racing Team exits pit lane, let's actually give you a short little rundown of the top 3 drivers in each class. That would be in the LMP1 class. PCDC Motorsports Argon, Adrian Rasnes right now behind that car. 3 laps is their stint old, and they actually didn't take tires. They're right now fighting a little bit here with traffic of Benjamin Gregory of the Texans Fitzy Motorsport car. In second place of LMP1, we have Hellraiser's Gluttony Hampus Bass behind that Porsche wheel. They are about, let's see, 18, nearly 19 seconds behind first place. Third place right now goes to the 54, the sister car of PCDC Motorsports Argon. It's PCDC Motorsports Xenon, about a minute behind, actually, sorry, half a minute behind first place.
Now going to the LMP2 class, the Nomad Sim Racing, they're in a great spot right now. Good on fuel, good on position. The only thing that could spoil their plans right now is a yellow flag. So Tony Baird really hoping for some clean racing to keep that car just fine. Then we go to the CQR Club car. They are on this other strategy where they're going to be close on fuel, and I believe they are going to have to make an extra stop for sure. Then we go to third place, the Team Heuskenveld car. They are a little bit closer to being able to make it on fuel. I think they're going to have to do something to push out a couple extra laps, whether that's a fuel map or something, but I think they might also have to make the splash. The team on this strategy that is going to be the closest to making it is the 181 car of the Torque Freak Racing Corkscrew. We're going to see if Jake Robson can keep that car clean and be able to make it on fuel. I'm afraid they might also have to make a splash, though. We will see. Then, finally rounding out your top 5 is Oliver Kemstad. He is keeping this car clean in a good spot, just a little bit off of the pace, but I believe he should be okay on fuel. So there are a lot of positions that he could gain, hypothetically, at the end of this race.
Down in the GTE Pro category, we've had a couple of pit stops happen during this rundown. But we're going to start out with the leader. That is going to be Hellraiser's Heresy of Marcus Simonson. And he is doing a great job up at the front. He's got a 48-second gap back to Team Heuskenfeld 248, who's on a similar strategy with him. Heuskenfeld 248, Johannes Schafranka. We've seen him get into a little bit of issues. He has not had the fastest pace today, but he is doing what he can with that car that's a little bit banged up after a couple of incidents in the early running of this race. In third place right now, we have Kinetic Racing Speed with Gabriel Ruse. Ruse is due for a pit stop in the next 5 or 6 laps, so he's going to be losing that position a little bit further back. And then we have Element Sim Racing Water of Ludwig Gimmer. He is on the similar strategy as the top 2, and he's there in the 4th position, so he's solidly in his position right now. And then we have the MB Esport Racing car of Nick Madsen. Nick Madsen just taking a pit stop and now getting out there for his first lap on track, so he is fresh off the pits, and he should be able to make it on just probably one more stop if I had to guess.
In the GTM class, it's same old for TSB Racing. If I remember correctly, they did win the event at Watkins Glen. They're once again in the lead for the GTM class, about 35 seconds ahead of Graphite Racing. In second place, the 392 right now, piloted by Richard Bell. In 40th or second place in class. They started 9 positions back, so they really did go places so far here. Real Pixel Motorsport 3, they are in third place. They also did go places. Obviously, this is a little bit skewed by some retirements we had thus far. 54th to 41st overall. Third place in class, about, let's see, that is also, no, actually they are fighting with a second place of Richard Bell and Graphite Racing, so that is a battle for position between Jan-Philipp Wied and Richard Bell for second place in the GTM class. Fresh Pineapple Racing, 4th place for them. They're also not too far behind that battle, 14 seconds, 14.5 seconds actually behind that battle, so if something happens, they might be able to jump that position. And in 5th place, we have Usagi Racing, the number 333, right now piloted by Markus Niskanen. He is about another 22 seconds behind the Fresh Pineapple Racing. And since we do have right now time for a little bit of talk, we will have team talk. It's Dawson Brock talking with Ryan Walker.
All right, yeah, we're here with the driver of the 181 car, one of the 3 drivers of the 181 car. Ryan, how's it going?
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great. We're enjoying this race. There's been a lot of good racing out there. You know, we've seen your car in the mix of it. You were trailing the trail of, I believe it was a German sim and the Adequate. You had a good little battle going on there, but right now your car in 4th place. How are we sitting?
At the moment, it's kind of it's a bit of a mystery. I mean, yeah, we've kept out of trouble so far in the race, and yeah, it seems to be paying off at the moment. Sitting in P4 in class, so yeah, it's not too bad. So yeah, so far.
Okay, I know well, everybody's kind of on a different strategy here. We have the Nomad guys who are, I believe they're going to be good on fuel from what we can read. Then you have CQR, Heuskenveld, you guys, who are all pitting. They all pit right around that 2-hour mark. You guys pitted last. Do you think you're going to be able to make it on fuel?
I'm not sure at the moment. It's something I'll need to go back and speak to David and Jake about. So yeah, it's still up in the air at the moment. But yeah, hopefully we can make it to the end. But yeah, even if we make it to the end and don't finish in the podium, I mean, P4 or something like P5 even would still be a good result, considering that we started towards the rear of the HBD class. So yeah, it's yeah, fingers crossed.
All right, one last thing, and we can get you out of here. This car was qualified deep in the pack of this LMP2 field by some guy who wasn't fast enough. You know what's been the key to getting this car up through the field? You know, we started in 11th and it slowly worked our way through, getting through the traffic. What's been the key to making all that happen?
I think just sticking to the plan of not worrying about pace as such, just aim more about consistency and just keeping out of trouble. And I think just keeping out of trouble, especially when it comes to lapping the GT cars and also being lapped by the P1 cars, it's been working so far. And I think just keeping out of trouble has been the main thing for us. So yeah, it's working well so far, but as proved by our P4 in class at the moment.
All right, well, thanks for stopping in, Ryan, and can't wait to see where this all ends up.
Thanks, Dawson.
That was Ryan Walker with Dawson Brock, the top 3 racing corkscrew drivers, both of them right now still sitting in 4th place, not actually, about the S's in between themselves and Team Heuskenveld. 3rd place card 101. That one would be CQR Club. Let's actually check in on our LMP2 leaders. They are only about a lap, half a lap. No, there's half a lap still between them and Nomad. So Nomad still hasn't pitted. They're right now on lap 26 of their stint. So I would guess, Dawson, that they soon will have to pit in.
Yeah, we'll see. They should be good though where they're at, so they shouldn't have to worry about stretching it or anything like that. So in a good spot.
We actually do have a battle developing for 3rd place in the LMP1 class. That is between Lee Racing Team and PCDC Motorsports Xenon. And speaking about LMP1s, Sai Andra ready to talk to us. That is the number 64 Satellite Racing Team, which we had plenty of fun with in the middle part of the race until a very unfortunate incident involving them. Sai, how is the car feeling? What do the drivers report from that incident?
Luckily, the incident was mostly cosmetic. We just had to change out the rear wing and the rear diffuser, and the car seems to be at 100% right now, just turning laps. The main thing is just trying to stay on the lead lap, so if we get a caution, we will end up kind of neutralizing the race and coming back to the tail end of the leaders, and I think we showed we have the ability to pass them, and I think we have one of the fastest cars on track, so kind of just a game of crossing our fingers right now and hoping for the best.
Yeah, right now about half a minute away from being lapped. 1 minute 13 behind the PCDC Motorsports Iron car. Now, how did you feel fighting for that first place for what was it? Half an hour? You guys were straight up battling with two other cars for that lead. How tense was that since you weren't driving? How tense, especially from the outside, was that for you watching that battle?
It's definitely more tense when you have a live feed of exactly what's going on the whole time. I do a little bit of engineering in real life as well, but when you don't have a chase view of what's going on, the action on the track, you're kind of not in the action as much. But basically, here it feels like I'm taking months off my life every time I watch these guys go for an overtake.
Taking months off your lives, yeah. Now, LMP1's Coach, it is an interesting relationship between them. Add some LMP2s and especially GT3s into the mix. How interesting does that relationship go?
It's a lot of trust, and for some of the teams we've been passing, that trust isn't there. So sometimes we have to leave an extra car width just to let them push wide if they make a mistake, or give them a little bit room on exit if they get loose and stuff like that. And it kind of compromises us, but it's a give and take where the trade-off is I gain a 10th where I lose 2 minutes in the pits, and obviously we're always going to take the second, but it is a little bit frustrating behind the wheel, and I can hear them curse every now and then. But it's funny at the same time. It's also pretty stressful watching some of the moves.
Well, Sai, last question before we let you go back to your team again. 1 minute 40, pretty much exactly right now left on the clock. What is the game plan going from here?
Well, right now we have a couple of teams within 30 seconds of us, and I know Pierre's been working his butt off trying to close that gap. Right now, I think realistically we could be just off the podium, and I think we definitely have a shot for the win if we get a lucky caution within the next hour or so.
Well, Sai, keep your fingers crossed for that lucky hush, and we're gonna let you back again to your drivers. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
That was LMP2 and LMP1 covered, and now we're also gonna cover the GTE Pro class as Adam Lindgren gonna be talking to Benjamin Fischer of Fischer Motorsport.
Yeah, Benjamin, looks like Pascal's doing a good job getting around the track right now. Competitive lap times. How has the traffic been out there today?
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, traffic, that's an interesting one. Definitely had a few moments there that you could describe as code brown. Just, you know, trying to deal with it, and it's definitely a handful. I think that especially the section where you have the long straightaway and then all these relatively slow corners, you really have to pay attention. And what I noticed especially was how fast those Audis are, those GT3 cars. I mean, we are in a GTE car, and at times it was quite difficult to pass the GT3 cars, not because they made it difficult for us, just because they were so fast and not all that much slower than us. Of course, what does that say about my pace? Not quite happy with my own pace today, but Pascal, as you said, he's really doing a good job. I'm really proud of you know, how we have been working as a team. And yeah, I just finished my double stint now, handed the car over to him, so he's going to take us to the finish now.
Looks like Pascal trying to work on Marcus Svensson for trying to get a lap back there. And, you know, we've had a major weather change over the course of this race. The weather has gone up about, you know, 20 degrees since the beginning of the race. How tough is it to get through the S's now that the weather's gone up? Since you've just finished your double stint, you've seen most of that weather change.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought it would actually be worse than it is. I think we have got quite a good setup, to be honest. But I mean, still, what you're saying is definitely true. You notice that the reference points, even though they're still the same, you just gotta lift a little bit early, maybe brake just a tad bit more than you used to on colder temperatures. But still, overall, I really have to say it's been working out well for us. I did have more of an issue in the very slow section of the track, especially everything between turn 19 and turn 12. That's where it's been a little bit more tricky at times, just because when you slow down so much and brake relatively hard, and then you have to get going again and accelerate. The rear stepped out a little bit here and there, just because the grip didn't quite hold up. But we have decided to change tires now on our driver swap. Made some adjustments, so I think we're good to go for the rest of the way.
Well, Benjamin, good luck. Best of luck to you, especially getting this lap back now as we see Pascal working on Marcus. And we got a pass on screen as well between Harrison and Jan Senkowski. But yeah, thanks for talking to us, Benjamin, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks guys for doing such an awesome job with the stream. Really happy to have you guys. Thanks.
And as Benjamin Fisher, P10 in the GT Pro category, currently one lap down, but working on Marcus Simonson to get his lap back.
And as you saw on screen, Harrison Bingham working on the back of Kasper Court now, as Kasper Court did pass him down the backstretch into turn 12. As that is Christian Rose now going past in a CQR Club LMP2. That was a former second place driver.
We also have a battle between Ricardo Schiavone and Christian Nosing for P3 in the LMP1s. It looks like Christian just got by. Just got by.
Ricardo got by, and that is a pass and a half assisted by, I would say, the mother of all boosts. That he came back on the straight from about 150 meters or so, and passed Nussing nearly already before the braking zone for that tight left hairpin. Nussing a little bit right there through the S's, as we are already back on live pictures, and yeah, it just shows how much dirty air these LMP1s produce, as Schiavone now working on the very loose Team Horsefeld number 248 Porsche, and now also Nussing goes past, and with that, PCDC doesn't have two cars anymore on the podium. It's now PCDC Motorsports are gonna head off Hellraiser Gluttony and Leo Racing Team. However, sorry for that. Leo Racing Team about 30 seconds behind second place of Hellraisers Gluttony, who are in thick traffic right now, as they actually also decide to pit in. As the Hellraisers Gluttony pits in, we're also gonna take a quick pit stop right now and come back for the last 1.5 hours to cover for you guys here in the DGFX 6 hours of the Circuit of the Americas. We are right back after these advertisements. Wow, Sean Macbeth just made a pass around the outside of turn 2 actually. Jesus. That's a pass and a half.
Hellraiser's in the pits.
So, where is Hellraiser's to Leo right now? You know what? How much time do we have left? It's 1.5 hours. They're not quite in the picture, Hellraisers.
So, also, F4 Racing.
You know what? I honestly don't care about We welcome you back to the last 1.5 hours of the 6-hour race here in beautiful Austin, Texas. It's the Circuit of the Americas, and this is the DGFX broadcast here on the Global Sim Racing channel via the iRacing Esports Network. We welcome you back with the battle for second place in the GTE Pro category. That is between two BMW M8s. One of them is driven by Nick Madsen of MB Esports Racing. The other one by Romeo Grinnell of F4H Racing Redgate.
Yeah, it looks like F4H Racing Redgate really struggling with top end speed. It looks like they have a ton of downforce on that M8, and it's giving them the advantage to the twisty bits, but then when they get onto the straights, then they just can't pull against Nick Madsen. And it's clear that Romeo has a decent amount of pace as far as like tire life goes over Nick Madsen. That's just not, he can't get by. He can't get close enough to get by. So he's just really struggling.
Right now, about a second, 0.999 between the two M8s as they enter the backstretch between turn 12 and turn 13. Two hairpins leading onto a straight. That is Tokyo Design at its best as Christian Nussing goes past third place in the LMP once. And let's actually compare the top speeds, and actually Romeo Grinnell slower with the draft down the backstretch.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Steph, I think it's going to take a mistake from Nick Madsen for Romeo to get by, unless Romeo can get close enough at the end of these straights in order to pressure Nick through these twisty sections. And it does not appear that he's able to do that. Nick holding his own, just doing exactly what he needs to do in order to hold off Romeo. But it looks like Nick going a little bit wide through this arcing corner here, but he's able to keep it together and keep it on track and put that car back on the racing road. Oh, and that's Redgate into the pits.
That is 26 laps to their stint. So they're going to have a full one and a short one, as MB Esports Racing is on lap 11 of their stint. Hellraiser's Hersey, the car leading the GT Pro category right now, coming up to turn 12. Nearly having a spin of themselves. They're out braking down the long straight. That's P24 in overall classification. They're also already on lap 26 of their stint.
Yeah, Hellraiser's Heresy doing a good job. They're on an alternate strategy right now, and It looks like these cars can do about an hour under their pit stops, so that's going to be they're going to be stretching it if they can. I mean, this is their 26th lap, so they're probably going to have to come in either on this lap or the next in order to get fuel and tires, and so they're going to be doing a half stint here, so they might decide to short fuel at this time.
Speaking about being on a different stint, that is the story between Nomad Sim Racing and CQR Club, and there's actually an interesting development because CQR Club, after Nomad Sim Racing, they're already on the 7th lap of their stint. There is now an 18.5-second gap between first and second place.
Yeah, and we see Nomad has one stop to make left, and so does CQR. So they're basically even as they sit right now on the track. The only question is if CQR is going to have to make another stop on top of this. So, like I keep saying, I'm pretty sure Nomad is in a very good spot here, and I do not see them without something drastic like a yellow flag. A yellow flag throws this all out of the water, and it actually puts Nomad in a very bad situation.
Oh, we just have a pass in the GTM category for P4. That is Fresh Pineapple Racing on Real Pixel Motorsport down in P4 in the GTM category. And they're getting pressured by Marius Valiota, sorry.
Valioka's pulling up a Verstappen move, so does Martin Tailgard there on the two GT3s, as does Andreas Quintana. What is happening in this gaggle as we are on the replay for that pass, and just much stronger on the brake is Robert Jan de Jong.
I think that wing damage is affecting Real Pixel Motorsport and just making it a little bit slower on the straights. And around here, with how long of a straight you have here at the Circuit of the Americas, that can be a huge problem. And we have an accident just in front of them.
That was Alexander Gaster coming out of pit lane, and Andres Quintana of the World of Sim Racing team. And that is exactly just a tailgate corner at its best once again. That is something that can happen here in turn 1, where the spotter actually doesn't really enable for both cars until late.
Steph, they just came off of a 1-lap stop and hold for breaching the incident limit. They come out on a track and then are involved in another incident.
That's really difficult. And like you said, the computer spotter, the iRacing spotter isn't going to pick that up. You need to have another team member there telling you, hey, you've got 3 cars coming up behind you as you exit pits here. So that's a really rough mistake.
Now, let's see, do we have a battle somewhere deeper into the field? Yes, actually! Let's go to that as Satellite is in pit lane. That is for, let's see, 10th place in the GTE Pro category. That is between Motev Esports Podcast Lime and Element Sim Racing Water. 33rd overall position. That is a BMW versus Ferrari.
Yeah, this is Element Sim Racing Water's second lap after coming out of the pits, and so they're on their way up forward. They're going to have to take another stop. They're going to have to take 2 more stops, mind you, in order to make it to the end of this race, most likely, unless they can save significantly here. And they are a lap behind, I believe, the leaders, so they're probably not in contention for a win at this stage of the game, being this far back, but if they can do some fuel saving, they might be able to gain a couple positions.
You are, by the way, wrong with being a lap down. That is just because the overall leader is right now between these guys and the GTE Pro leader, who still is MB Esports Racing of Nick Matz in the 220. followed about 6 seconds behind by kinetic racing velocity of Matthias Magnussen. But it seems like Ludwig Gemmer here in this battle has the speed on hand over Paul Denton. Another battle that seems to be developing is for P8 in the GT Pro class, that is between Fischer Motorsport and Kinetic Racing Speed. Pascal Theis and Stefan Overgaard racing for their respective teams.
Yeah, Pascal doing a good job to make it to hold on to his position and keep a good pace as the leading GT Pro car came into the pits. And that's released him to go forward. And Kinetic Racing Speed just making good pace right now. Catching up to the back of Pascal. That's just on raw pace at the moment. He's actually doing a good job to hang with him, even with Fischer Motorsports' Pascal Theis really doing a good job on lap time.
And yeah, I think we might have to go back to the battle for P10 though, because Ludwig Gemmer now really on the back, actually pushing Motev into a mistake, and there goes Ludwig Gemmer by for that 10th place in class. Paul Denton just not able to cope with the pressure. The Motev driver into turn 12 just outbrakes himself ever so slightly, locks the rear brakes, catches the spin, but Ludwig Gemmer is already past.
That's one of those things, by just filling the mirror slowly, one of those mistakes is just bound to happen.
You know, while we're talking about battles, we have a nice battle for P7 right now in the LMP2 class. This is 19th overall, 18th and 19th overall between Team Vikings Fenris and World of Sim Racing Team. This is Martin Telegaard and Andres Quintana.
Getting a little bit loose there. Now this is a lot deeper in this field. The field that, you know, before we had so many battles in LMP2 and now it has seemed to just fizzle out. But now we have a battle here with these two cars. Boy, is it just me or does Quintana's car look a little bit loose at the rear end?
Yeah, he looks a little unstable, like he's just barely hanging on to the back end of it around these corners. And maybe that's the way that the team like to set up their car, and maybe that's the way they like to drive it. I drove a set around here in a GTE earlier this week that felt exactly the same way, and man, yeah, he's definitely having to work the wheel on the exit of these corners.
Sideways is best ways.
You know, the track here again, as we keep talking about this, it's going to keep getting hotter. We're getting closer to noon here in the sim, and the track hitting 93 degrees Fahrenheit.
I mean, that's up 30 degrees Fahrenheit from the beginning of this race. That is impressive. What a track.
34 degrees Celsius, by the way, for you metric people out there. As Andres Quintana still working on the back of Martin Telegaard of the Team Vikings Fenris LMP2.
And this is definitely our closest battle on track, with Quintana really going hard on the brakes. He's putting a lot of wheel into his turns as well, kind of over-rotating the front tires in order to try and get a good run on the backstretch. But this is going to be upset by Till Norwig giving Martin Telegaard a good tow, and now he's going to get one as well, but it's going to be a little bit too late in order to make a move at the end of the straight. But they have a lot more traffic ahead of them to deal with.
Boy, no mistake there. Just happened. Quintana's able to get around Telegaard.
And that was right in front of Till Norwig as well.
And also right in front of Ricardo Schiavon, who is once again back in second place of LMP1 class, as the Hellraisers Glutini have made their pit stop. But yeah, speaking about pit stop, Andres Quintana into the pit lane he drives.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so far you can go on those rear tires, and I mean, I know they're going for fuel numbers and they're going for lap numbers, but it's got to feel good to come in for new sets.
Oh, and he's also got a
Actually-
black flag. It looks
Yeah.
like an incident limit breach. So
I
Yep,
think
stop
that
and go.
is why he pitted in, and not because of any tires or fuel. Either way, Till Norwig, the guy we wanted to switch to earlier, still your GTM leader of. Let's see. Let's actually check in how that comparison is going with second place. 9.3 seconds. He's right now ahead of Terbium Racing Ross Bartel in that car. And they have started to even out on their stint lengths, as it seems. TSB Racing now 13 laps into their stint, where Terbium Racing 19 laps into their stint.
Yeah, it seems like we're seeing quite a few differing pit strategies for the GTM cars. I think some people are trying to get the fuel just right and take, shorter stints and just try and even it out a little bit more. Well, some people are banking on that last pit stop being a good 10 seconds shorter. So it's just different strategies right now, and we're going to see it all play out here in the final hour and 15 minutes.
Element Sim Racing fire back out of the pit lane. They're still in 5th place. No, actually, they're now in 6th place. They did come out right behind Julian Uyen and Stefan Petrad, of Team Heusenfeld number 101. They are behind each other, but they're actually not fighting for position, as Uyen is a full lap behind, or nearly a lap behind, the Team Heusenfeld number 101.
But who is battling Hoffman for position is Pierre-Benoit Lemire, who is in the LMP1 classes. Wow, everyone gets very close to each other coming up that corner. And Hoffman using up quite a bit of boost to try and get away, but Lemire really on the boost. And wow, watch this closing speed.
Here comes the train, here comes it into the station and past it with quite some force. Pierre-Benoit Lemire passed into turn 12, so he now in 6th, actually 5th place. No, that's 6th place. There we go, my timing just updated. 6th place for Pierre-Benoit of Satellite Racing. Another battle that has closed in. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Stefan Overgaard of Kinetic Racing Speed versus Fischer Motorsport of Pascal Theis. That still is the battle for 8th place in the GTE Pro class.
Yeah, Kinetic Racing Speed doing a good job of keeping tabs on the Fischer Motorsports driver of Pascal. Pascal is doing a good job of keeping tabs on the driver ahead of Romeo Grinnell. So these guys all closing in on the F4H Racing Redgate driver who just pitted.
Yeah, 6 laps ago, Romeo Grinnell did pit for some new virtual racing fuel, as he's trying to get past Richard Bell of the Graphite Racing amateur team. Right now in 3rd place of the GT class. There now goes the BMW to the inside of the Audi. The Audi brakes a little bit earlier and lets Romeo Grinnell pass. Pascal Theis not able to be that fortunate, has to stay behind the Audi probably for the whole stadium section there.
It looks like the Kinetic Racing Speed driver of Steph Overgaard behind all of these guys is really starting to push a little bit too hard. He's missed 2 braking zones recently, and he's really good through this middle sector here, through these middle sectors, but it's braking for the high-speed corners where he seems to be braking a little bit too late. He's losing a little bit of time to Pascal.
Let's actually jump a few spots up. It's the battle for P2 in the GT Pro class. Matthias Magnussen versus Sean Macbeth, who now gets overtaken by the LMP2 of Paul Van Loon. That battle is shortly getting broken up by that car, but it is going to give a little bit of a draft help to Sean Macbeth.
It's not going to affect him that much, but he's doing a good job of closing his way up to the kinetic racing velocity driver, Matthias Magnussen. Magnussen looks like he's just kind of on his own strategy, right? Oh my goodness, that's going to hold up Magnussen significantly. Sean McBeth not in a position to take advantage of it, though. Magnussen staying defensive on the inside. It looks like Sean McBeth not in a huge hurry to get by right now.
That was Ronald Gross of the Real Pixel Motorsport 1 car, LMP2 that one was. They are sitting in 10th in class 21st overall, as the number 54 is in pit lane. That's PCDC Motorsports Xenon handing over the on-track lead to Leon Racing Team.
And while we're taking a look at this, Pascal Theus is going on Romeo Grinnell for P7 in the GT Pro category. These two guys are coming up on the braking zone off of the straight, and wow, almost 4 wide there as they come into the braking zone. Pascal's got a good break there, but looks like Romeo's going to go for the over-under, but he's going to get blocked out by that LMP2 car. Uh-oh.
Wait, Christian Rose is in a tough situation here. He waits to make the pass a little later, and now is just in a little bit of a jam here. Nowhere to go. Now gonna finally make the pass. Good patience shown there by Christian Rose. He could have made that pass right after that backstretch, so good patience to just wait for the opportunity.
Yeah, now Richard Bell's going to get trapped in the same position, but Stefan Overgaard looking on these two as Pascal goes through. He knows that he's got pace on Pascal, but he couldn't close in and take advantage of that incident, so he's going to have to try and move away by Romeo himself.
Stefan Overgaard of Kinetic Racing Speed, still in 9th place. He is the second fastest car of this 3-car battle. Only Pascal Theis the faster car as they come up to the World of Sim Racing Team Junior number 351, piloted by Diego Vasquez Duenas. So that might hold up Pascal Theis right now a little bit, and so it actually does, giving a tiny little bit of a run to Romeo Grinnell, who gets overtaken by Marcel Egbers of the LMP1 car, who himself now gets boxed in behind the 2 GT cars.
I'd actually like to steal us away from this and take a look at another 3-car battle going on in the GT Pros. This is between Kinetic Racing Velocity and SRT Esport East, as SRT Esport East actually going to come into the pits, releasing Hellraiser's Heresy to go and try and fight with Kinetic Racing Velocity up there for P2 in the GT Pro class.
That still is quite the tight battle. So is the battle for 8th place, but we're gonna stick for the battle for 2nd place because it is just that higher up.
We've got a situation here. The 101 car, the Team Heuskenveld LMP2 car, has a bunch of damage, and somewhere along the way we have missed a wreck. I'm gonna go back and see if I can find something.
Yeah, it was coming through the S's actually, and he got collected by a GP AM car, and that was about half a lap ago.
Jan-Philipp Weed.
Yeah, we're gonna see it here coming up through the S's here. We're gonna see him approach Jan-Philipp Weed, and he's gonna have quite. Huh? He's gonna get caught out by this.
Yeah, honestly, this is a little bit of a weird wreck in multi-class situations, because Weed did turn in, he was clear, and then just didn't anticipate that Petrat is gonna be slower at the apex because he has that much of a tighter line and just basically runs over him.
So a couple updates while we were watching that. Hellraiser's Heresy did make the pass into P2 in the GT Pro category, and Leo Racing Team has come into the pits for the LMP1s. So the race is starting to work out pretty well right now as we take a look at Leo Racing coming out of the pit.
up on the battle for P5 and LMP2. We've seen these two cars battle it out before, and they're back at it again. Julian Ogan was in front of the Adequate Racing team, but Adequate Racing jumped him after a mistake. Bringing the car into pit road cost them a bunch of time, but now as everything is settled out, these two are back together on the track. And we're almost getting inside an hour to go, where it's gonna be go time. These cars are gonna have to make one more stop from here.
Black and green versus green and black. Who is gonna prevail? It's most definitely gonna be the colors green and black. They are, by the way, about, quick calculation says, actually they are already a full lap behind your leaders. They're actually also nearly a full lap behind 4th place of Team Heusenfeld, number 101. So yeah, Jonathan Dance and Julian Uyen, all they're fighting for is P5 unless something happens up in front of them, which nobody hopes, obviously.
The Heusenfeld car into the pits now, so they actually will probably both move up one spot.
And I'd actually like to take us up to the LMP1 battle for 5th place between Satellite Racing and Element Sim Racing Fire. These drivers are actually on similar strategies right now, and it looks like Satellite Racing trying to make their way past the Element Sim Racing Fire driver.
And another interesting development, PCDC Motorsports Argon. They were already quite a lot ahead of the Hellraisers Gluttony, but Gluttony has closed in again. They're only half a second behind your overall leader.
And Hellraiser's Gluttony has been on those tires for 15 laps, whereas Argon just pitted 4 laps ago, so that's going to be a very different, that's a difference in strategy as well, so as they go into this final hour, it's going to be very different.
I'm not sure, but I think something might have happened to Argon because their last lap was about 2.5 seconds slower than one of Hellraiser's Gluttony. Not sure if that was just traffic or if that was assisted by some damage. Either way, or a spin. Hellraiser's Gluttony very much on the tail of the PCDC Motorsports Argon car. Satellite Racing, 5th place in their sights, and they're actually boosting up to the back of Element Sim Racing Fire, not able to do something into turn 12. But I think that is pretty much our quiz.
Steph, it looks like we're going to have a pass for the lead actually in the GT Pro category between MB Esports Racing and Hellraiser's Heresy. Hellraiser's Heresy getting a good run. He decides not to take the late dive and lets MB Esports stay ahead. So Nick Madsen doing really getting his money's worth out of that car today with really good defensive driving, doing exactly what he needs to just stay ahead of everyone who's challenging him. And even though they may not be in the battle for the lead, oh, here we go. Stellan Lindenberg got a good run, but wow, Madsen cuts him off.
I think, though, that Stellan knows what is going on here because MB Esports, Nick Madsen, he is already on lap 22 of his stint, where Stellan Lindenberg of Hellraiser's Heresy is only on lap 10. So Stellan will have the shorter pit stop. I even think that Nick Madsen might have to double stint. Might be close on that one for Nick, but most definitely Stellan will have a shorter pit stop at the very end, releasing him off that battle either way.
Yeah, Stellan being 23 laps into his stint, he will cross the hour mark on this stint, so he should be able to make it to the end on fuel on the next pit stop.
So we are coming to almost the point where we're going to have an hour left in this race, that means there are a lot of LMP2 cars looking to make their final pit stops. So far, the Heuskenveld car, the only car to come in, plus they've had some damage. Now, I did misspeak. I thought that the Adequate and the German sim racing teams were going to be able to jump Heuskenveld, but Heuskenveld has a large gap to these cars. So far, Team Heuskenveld is going to sit in P4.
Yeah, it's still about 54 seconds to Adequate Racing, who were able to overtake German Sim Racing LMP2 for that 5th place. Happened already, I think, about 2 laps ago. So, yeah, Julian Oyen now in 6th place, still just shy of the top 5 position, and it is going to, actually that is also an interesting battle, because Adequate Racing, they are 9 laps into the stint, where German Sim Racing is 22 laps into their stint. So I'm not even sure if they will meet again on track.
It doesn't seem likely, especially once the pit stops start happening. And, you know, frankly, being 9 laps into your stint, going under an hour to go, that means you're going to get a shorter pit stop. But at the same
I'm sorry,
time,
Pierre-Benoit Lemieux tried to dive into the inside of Matthias Hoffmann for 5th place in LMP1. Got the door slammed shut, actually, by that one. Was a little bit assisted by traffic as they now head onto the backstretch, and we head into replay of that move. After that move, we can actually stay on replay, because Lemieux just got past the Elements Sim Racing fire car out of this turn 11. Just much better acceleration, and Lemieux again behind Hoffmann because of outbraking himself. Very interesting development in that battle between those two drivers. Just you can see how much more Lemieux boosts, and just because of that boosting, he missed his braking spot, did outbrake himself into turn 12, and was forced to hand back P5 to Matthias Hoffmann again.
The CQR LMP2 car in the pits and now driving away. They did a driver swap. Christian Rose out of that car. Daniel Kraft back in for the final hour of racing. This should be their final stop. We will see if they are able to stretch the field to make it to the end.
and guys, looks like Stone Lindenberg in P2 in the GTP car, the GT Pro class, has decided he's done sitting behind Nick Madsen, and he's going to try and go for a pass here. Oh my goodness, and he puts it in way too deep.
Yeah, nearly loses the rear of his car.
He just ran out of patience, and that starts to bite you around this track. You'll hear from the F1 guys that race around here, as well as the WEC guys, that patience is the name of the game around here. If you're not patient, you're going to run your car too hard. That's going to lead you to mistakes and spins and wrecks.
So that's why I don't like this track. I don't have the patience.
Speaking about patience, Pierre-Benoit Lemieux able to do that right now. No, he isn't. That is nearly contact, as he nearly runs in the back of the Element Sim Racing Fire for P5. That is right in front of Daniel Croft, the CQR Club LMP2. Oh, and Daniel Croft spun. But able to keep it pointing so to the right direction and keeps on going.
Just coming out of the pits, he spins it, unfortunately. We're going to watch this on the replay.
And this is a big mistake, because the Torque Freak car, the car just behind them, is now in the pits, and so they're going to be close on track, barring any changes here.
Let's see, Jake Robson in that car, taking fuel, still sitting stationary.
And Kraft is in the pits again for a second time.
That is interesting.
Don't see any penalties logged for him. Let's see what happens here. It's for fuel.
Maybe they think that they were only short one lap.
But but wouldn't you want to wait and see if maybe you get a yellow flag and you're gonna be good? I think there's something else
That
here.
was a speeding penalty. 16 seconds on the stop. That must have been a speeding in pits penalty.
Wow.
While we're watching this, P5 for LMP1 is heated up again. Pierre Benoit Lemiere is really... Oh my goodness, take a look at this. The train's coming.
That is one TGV by Pierre Benoit Lemiere. Yes, he is Canadian, but still that is somewhat French with the name, as he finally gets past Matthias Hoffmann for that 5th position.
While we were looking at those replays and talking about those incidents, Stone Lindenberg has made it past Nick Madsen. This happened about a lap ago, so no need to go back and find it, but looks like Hellraiser's Heresy is going to pull ahead of MB Esports right now. On track, but not on strategy. MB Esports is due into the pits now. Let's take a look at the replay of this pass.
Hell, release. Go ahead.
Yeah, it happens as they go through the twisty bits again. Stone Lindenberg on the inside of these corners now. Definitely a better attacking position for him. And it just looks like Nick Madsen couldn't get the speed off the corner and gives up that battle.
Already did put about a second between himself and Nick Madsen. And actually, I'm currently wondering, does Canada have something fast like the TGV? Either way, Nick Madsen, he is actually able on the straight to... Whoa, that was close with Gunnar Miesen there, Team Hossingeld number 78 LMP1. Somewhat able to stay with Stellan Lindenberg right now, but it seems like Lindenberg has the better tires and able to just get so much better out and through turns.
Now Madsen's due in for his final pit stop here. He should be able to make it to the end if he pits this lap or next.
55 minutes have ticked over, 54 and 54 seconds still remaining as Stellan Lindenberg goes past the pit entry, but Nick Madsen, as he projected, into pit lane.
And while we're watching him trundle down the pit lane, it looks like the battle for P6 in the GT Pros has also started to heat up a bit. Kinetic Racing Speed looks like is going to go on the inside here of the F4H Racing Redgate of Romeo Grinnell. Here we go with Flores, with Overgaard trying to battle Grinnell, but Grinnell got a good exit there. He's going to hold the outside line. Is Overgaard going to battle it into the inside? Look at that. Grinnell trying to block it off. Overgaard going to do the over-under here. No, holds it on that side, but this gives Grinnell a good opportunity for the inside through the next corner.
Let's see how well he's able to hold the inside of this Turkey-style corner. Able to do it. Doesn't give the outside to Stefan Overgaard to make something happen on the inside of the penultimate turn. There goes Grinnell into pit lane, though breaking up this beautiful battle.
I find it really funny that Grinnell fought so hard for that battle and for that position if he's just going to drop into the pits. But, you know, I guess that's just race car drivers for you.
And MB Esport. Oh wait, Hoffman is going on here, and still ahead. About Hoffman just got close again to Lemiere as the MB Esport Racing driver pits out again. This time, Thomas Jassen back into the car for the last 50 or so minutes. Hampus Baas of the Hellraisers Gluttony LMP1 car in second place, is still at least trying to be hot on the heels of the PCDC Motorsports Argon car. Argon right now 11 laps into the stint, but Hellraisers Gluttony 22 laps into their stint, so they are expected to come into the pit lane this or next 2 laps, as they were very close to the back of Ronald Gross of the Real Pixel Motorsport number 1. LMP2 car. There we go, now 3 wide into this long and never-ending right turn. And that is quite some interesting development there. You can see Hampus Bas is faster than Matteo. Matteo, that is the first place driver, sorry. Yeah, just...
And I could tell you, at the start of this lap, they were really close. They were within a second of each other. But then Hampus got stuck behind a GT car at the start of the S's, which developed a huge gap for the PCDC motorsports car. So that's one of these things here. You get a gap and you get one bad break with these LMP1 cars with how fast they are and how important it is to carry that speed through these S's, and that gap just expands.
And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Hellraiser's Gluttony pits this lap or next, they won't be able to make it on fuel?
It's about 45 minutes, so yeah,
Yes.
no, they would be short about 3 laps.
They gotta hope for is, like, if they can pit and then get a yellow flag almost right after that, that would be a huge break, and it would put Hellraisers probably to be the favorites to win this race.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, it's 30 minutes where we don't get a yellow flag anymore.
I'm not sure. Let me do some digging.
Either way, Marcel T of the Team Heusfeld number 101 back out again, still in 4th place, right behind the CQR club car, who is... Let's actually see what they are on track.
Club just went through the
Croft.
hairpin onto the backstretch.
Thank you very much.
You know, I hate to keep dragging us back here, but P5 for LMP1 is not done yet. Element Sim Racing Fire, Matthias Hoffman, he is just, he can't, he just doesn't want to take no for an answer. He wants to make this pass.
Both drivers still have to make one more pit stop. Both of them will be good. Once they make that pit stop. Satellite Racing, they're 18 laps into their stint. Element Sim Racing Fire, 14 laps into the stint though. So once they have pitted, they will find each other again on the track. So this battle most definitely will keep on going.
Update on pit stops in the GT Pro category. Team Heusenfeld 248 of Jans Senkowski has come into the pits and is in and out of the pits now. And so that filters him out into 4th position. So looks like the GT, let's see, almost all of the GT Pros have taken their final pit stop at this stage of the game, except for Hellraiser's Heresy in the lead right now. Oh, our leaders in the LMP2 categories in Nomad Sim Racing HPD.
And this will be interesting against the CQR club car, who is actually way behind. Oh yeah, they had their stop and go penalty, I forgot. Torque Freak Racing Corkscrew, they're right now heading into turn 12, so Nomad Sim Racing, I guess they're gonna come out well ahead of anyone in their class.
Yeah, they've done a great job this race. No mistakes, and they had the better strategy. They took that pit stop, and our only yellow flag, they decided to take the pit stop. The Torque Freak guys stayed out, which ended up kind of putting them on this off strategy. And yeah, Nomad running a great race today as they get out of the pits well ahead.
Top 4 of your LMP2 cars, pretty sure will all be good for fuel. Jake Robson and Daniel Kraft both have now started their 5th lap on their new stint. Obviously, Team Heusenfeld 101, they just exited pit lane this lap, and so did Nomad Sim Racing HP.
All right, guys. Interesting developments. Hellraiser's Gluttony is into the pits. This is 47:20 to go as they release. so he would have to save 2 minutes of fuel and hope that we don't get an extra lap around this circuit in order to make it to the end. And that's a little bit much of a gamble for my taste, guys.
I would agree. That's really rough, and I know you can save fuel in those LMP1 cars, but boy, it's really tough to make up a lap or two here.
But we have developing is the one for P4 in the LMP2 class. It is Adequate Racing versus Team Heusenfeld number 101. However, Adequate Racing still has to pit one more time, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. So while they're going to be doing this battle, they're going to not want to get too held up by this. So they're going to be trying to get their way by. And Marcel has no need to hold him up at all because he's not really racing him for on-track positions. So I would expect this to go pretty cleanly with Adequate Racing's Jonathan Dance going to get behind Heusenfeld's Marcel Tag.
It's just about setting up this pass. It's kind of looking like it's difficult. That Heusenfeld car looks beat up, but pace-wise, the car seems fine. So we'll see maybe if the top speed is hurt here. We'll see if Dance can make a move going into this hard braking zone here.
I wouldn't expect Marcel to defend, and he does not, so he lets Dance get to the inside and even backs off a little bit on the straight to let it by.
And that just goes right to the point that you were talking about. There's no reason you're not exactly racing each other, especially when Jonathan has to bring that car into the pits one more time.
I'm going to take a look at Graphite Racing AM's Richard Bell in the lead right now. He's just going through some of the twisty bits onto the front stretch now. He's got a nice 25.5 second gap over Real Pixel Motorsports Jan-Philipp Wied, and yeah, these Audis really showing their stuff around here. Their top speed is really unmatched around this track. Good nimbleness with the car as well. So Richard Bell doing a great job. This Graphite Racing team has really had a handle on this race since the top.
A pass in class right now happening between the Motiv Esports podcast Lime Car and Kinetic Racing Search. That is for P12 in the GTE Pro class. Vincent Lebier passing Paul Denton down the backstretch. Let's actually give you the replay of that pass, because Vincent most definitely quite the masterclass pass there.
Yeah, we see Vincent race in the major series as well, and he's definitely most comfortable in these GTE vehicles and prefers this BMW M8, and so it's great to see him really starting his stuff in these final stages of the race.
Back to the live pictures of the Kinetic Racing Search team. They are about 14, nearly 15 seconds behind the next car in class. So most definitely they don't will run into the next pass anytime soon. The closest battle we have on track right now is actually the battle for P3 in LMP1 as Satellite Racing into pit lane they go.
And they should be able to make it on this on fuel now, Dawson. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm pretty sure they will be able to. And I actually don't think they'll even take tires for this final stop.
I think they're good by just a single lap, as they also take tires.
Okay, interesting. I've known these LMP1 cars, in certain conditions, they'll triple stint tires, but I understand this with the 97-degree track. Maybe at this point there's no reason to not.
Yeah, these are not certain conditions. 97-degree track is nothing to be scoffing at, especially when we started this race with, what, 64-degree track?
I know normally when I think of triple stint, the number one thing that came to my mind was overnight at Le Mans, so that's a completely different monster.
Speaking about pit stops, Paul Van Loon, no luck, EM Sport into pit lane, pitting from 6th place. Also, he will be good to go to the end with his LMP2 car.
So here's an interesting thing to talk about. Hellraiser's Heresy at the lead of GT Pro. They have a 57.5 second gap over Jorge Flores in the SRT Esports East car. Now that 57 seconds, if they take a shorter stop for fuel, which they're coming up in the next couple laps to take their stop, they possibly could come out on track ahead of SRT Esports East. So Flores really needs to push right now if he's going to try and close that gap and battle Hellraiser's Heresy for the win of this race in the GT Pro class.
That's a big delta, though, with the 57 seconds. I would think that they should be okay with the pit stop.
Also, SRT Esports East has to do one more pit stop, so...
They do, yes. Okay, well then that's out.
They are 13 laps into their stint, but they have short pitted this stint, so probably they're also due pretty much any lap now. Or at least I think. Commentators pretty much always wrong. Especially on that kind of part. But the battle I wanted to talk about previously is the one for 3rd place between PCDC Motorsports Xenon and Hellraiser's Gluttony. Gluttony being the faster car behind PCDC Motorsports Xenon. Obviously, Xenon has to still pit, same with Lee Racing Team or Hellraiser's Gluttony. Has a question mark over this stint because they did pit in at 47 minutes left, and we know for a fact that these cars can go 45 minutes. Just the question is that 2 minutes, do they have that in the tank or not?
Dawson, where are they gonna find that on track if they try and save that fuel? Like, where are the best places to save fuel around here?
Hands down, it's in hard braking corners. It's where you can, get away with letting off the gas early and rolling into the corner rather than braking hard. You don't lose as much time, and the fuel that you're going to save is going to be greatest in those. Another place would probably be the S's, maybe finding places to coast there, and rather than downshifting in a couple corners, just keeping it up a gear and losing a little bit of time there.
The battle we're looking at right now is between Graphite Racing Pro of Casper DeCourt and Team Hoisingfeld 248 of Jan Stenkowski. And these two are battling for position on similar strategies. Stenkowski going to the inside. Ooh, contact!
And once again, turn 1 strikes with some door slamming. This time Jan Stenkowski door slamming with Casper DeCourt as 2 lines once again cross.
I don't think Court expected him to come all the way out on the exit there and was just trying to stay on track, and Stenkowski just kind of took his line away and forced him off.
Let's actually have a look at the battle for P5 in the GT Pro category. That is between Matthias Magnussen of Kinetic Racing Velocity and the MB Esport Racing car of Thomas Jersen. MB Esport, remember, they did lead this race at one point, but because of their pit stop, they did fall behind right now. And I don't think that they will get much further up the road anymore.
Well, they've already taken their final stop, and Hellraiser's Heresy still needs to take theirs, but they've got their massive lead. So, yeah, I think this is... Unless they can close the gap to Graphite Racing ahead of Casper DeCourt, this will be where they end up.
We are nearing the 30-minute mark, which means that once we have passed the 30 minutes, no more safety cars will be deployed in this race. So it is pretty much a hands-on approach from there on out.
Yeah, so if you want a safety car, you can create one now.
And get a lifetime ban from DGFX. Right ahead of the battle we're watching is also the battle for P3 in the GTE Pro class. That is between Kasper de Kort of Graphite Racing Pro and Jan Sandkowski of the Team Heusenwelt number 248.
Yep, and we saw that pass into turn 1 where Jan maybe used up a little bit of Casper's room, so who knows, maybe when it comes the other way around, maybe Casper takes a little bit away. That's just that give and take racing.
Yep, but as you said earlier on, Dawson, you know, go time has been on for quite a while, so, you know, Jan taking that spot away, while you can be frustrated, you can understand why. He's got to make up for some of the damage that they've had previously, which is definitely making them slower on this straight.
And Matthias Magnussen closing in on the back of Thomas Jeresen. Let's actually see if, never mind, he backs on.
Yeah, Matthias Magnussen doing a good job of closing in on the back of Thomas Harrison, and the MBE Sports Racing BMW just is not liking these hot temperatures. It is sliding all over the place right now, and he's having a hard time holding that car down.
You know what? I would actually say that Matthias Magnussen, he would have had the chance, the opportunity to go to the inside on the brakes and make it happen there. It would have been a late lunch, but it would have been on. But yeah, Matthias Magnussen, heart over mind, or mind over heart, that way, and decides to back out of it and wait for a better opportunity, which he might get out of this last turn. Look at how close he is. Look at the run he's getting. This might be the pass for him that he has been waiting for. Goes alongside here over the start line already. And he is passed well before the braking zone, actually also able to brake later out, braking himself, maybe, yes he does, but able to close the door for Thomas Jersen at the exit of the turn.
Fun stuff with Matthias Magnussen, doing a great job making that pass. Those turn 1 passes, they see them all the time in the real life racing. It's awesome to see these drivers committing to those difficult passes here as well, especially with the limited visibility you have in the sim. You don't have peripheral vision, you're unable to turn your head unless you're racing in VR. Of course, you're relying entirely on your spotter and your relative in order to make those passes work, in order to not make contact. It's awesome to see people dive it in there. Hellraiser's Heresy in from the lead of GTE Pro.
And this now is going to be interesting where they come out, especially compared to SRT Esport East, who is second place, but about a minute behind Hellraiser's Heresy.
Yeah, and Hellraiser's Heresy won't have to take full fuel, and they don't, and they're out in... Wow, that is a short pit stop.
19.2 seconds for that pit stop, or 19.08 on the official timing. As Stellan Lindenberg already off the pit limiter, and away he goes.
SRT Esports hoping for that 3 minute and 30 seconds to produce a caution. It's unlikely, but it's possible, and that's what they're going to be praying for right now.
A bit of a fun battle that really isn't one is the one between Marcel Ekbergs and Gunnar Meesen. Ekbergs being a lap down on Gunnar Meesen, fighting back, having a little bit of fun with Gunnar. He is, it seems like, the faster car right now, probably behind because of damage they had to repair at one point in the race. Yeah, the German sim racing driver putting up his best fight to stay ahead of Gunnar Meesen.
PCDC Motorsports Xenon is in as well.
Oh!
Densler. Oh!
Gunnar Meesen with the slide, catching it, but sadly Jorge Flores in the way. Catching also a little bit of damage there on that one, and we saw it right over the rear wing of Marcel Ekbers, but once again on the cockpit camera of Gunnar Miesen. Great catch, but sadly Jorge Flores getting a little bit of damage there on his nose.
I'm happy to report that overall this has been a really clean race. Ever since about 5 hours into the race, 5 hours of time left in the race, we haven't had any significant incident penalties. It's all been incident limit breaches. Then those can cost your team quite a bit. So teams that have been able to watch that have been doing a good job. But really, it's been a really clean race and nothing that could really lead to a safety car. So those teams that are banking on one, it's not trending that direction.
And I know if you would have asked most of these drivers before the race, they would have told you this would have been a caution fest, that this was going to be a mess because just the nature of the track. So really kudos to all the drivers doing a great job and the league admins making sure that this stays a clean race.
So we have a battle starting to size up between Motif Esports Podcast Pink in the 10th position in GT Pro, and then Element Sim Racing Water in GT Pro in 11th as well. These two drivers, this is Motif just coming off of the pit lane.
Now, because we have so much hatred in this commentary booth for this track, let's actually spread some love, because Harrison right now trying to overtake the Motif car there for 10th place. Harrison Bingham trying to defend that one. Ludwig Gamma trying to overtake, and that's a pass and a half.
I give some love to Ludwig Gemmer for a good, staunch passing opportunity there. He's going to go a little deep there, but he's still going to be able to hold the position. But you were talking about spreading some love around, Steph. Where are you going with this?
I actually like this track. It offers great opportunities to pass, has some challenging bits that I always like. I'm actually in favor of racing a few times around Virginia North track. But yeah, no, this track offers a great varieties of challenge. You have to set up your car perfectly, otherwise it's not going to function whatsoever. And Ludwig Gamma now once again under pressure from Bingham up into turn 1, not able to do it. Yes, it has its flaws, like turn 1, that's one. With that narrow exit line, as Harrison Bingham getting a little bit bogged down on the exit. He had to try to do something through turn 2, or at least try to set it up for turn 2, but not able to do so, as now also Marcus Valiokas getting a little bit bogged down by these two. Gets past now through the last bit of the SS. But no, it has a great flow. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we don't have to go to it, but I can report that Element Sim Racing Fire was decided that they were not able to make it all the way to the end of the race on fuel, so they've come in to do a splash and go.
That is not only a splash and go, but a full 14, 15, 16, 18, 20.
Okay.
That is quite a long stop. That's
and they went up for tires. Okay, well, I stand corrected, but this gaggle on screen is quite exciting right now.
But yeah, no, this track has great flow. It is a tilted track, so I'm obliged to hate it. But no, Dakota is an interesting track. It offers its own unique challenges, even though it is a mix of different tracks within a track. But no, I think Kota is quite an underrated racing track. Not so good for driving, but quite great for racing. As we see before us here today, once again in the 6 hours of the Circuit of the Americas in the DGFX series, live here on the iRacing Esports Network.
We are under that 30-minute mark, so cautions will not happen. So if you've been banking on one, sorry, it's not meant to be. But yeah, yes, it's time to reach for what you can get, put your pedal to the metal, and grab what you can on your way home.
speaking about have what you got and just pedal to the metal, that's exactly what PCDC Motorsports Argon has been doing since about 1.5 hours left in the race. PCDC Motorsports Argon, Gianluca Matteo right now in that car, 27 seconds ahead of Hellraiser's Colucini. Have pitted just 1 lap ago. And yeah, comfortably leading this one. Comfortably leading the P2 battle under quotations. There is Hellraiser's Colucini, 9 seconds, 8.8 seconds between them and Leo Racing Team, but still the question mark over Hellraiser's Colucini if they can make this race on that one stint they already had 11 laps ago or not. If they can't, then Leo Racing, 9 seconds. That's pretty much a guaranteed second place for them if Hellraiser's Colucini have to make one more stop.
Yeah, and Steph, starting with a penalty that put them at the back very early, that's going to be an impressive run for them. You know, another impressive run I'd like to talk about is the Team Heusenfeld 248 car in P3 in the GT Pro class right now. They have had a really impressive run, rebounding from some damage that made them slower on the straights. But man, this team has really rallied together and is coming forward. They're almost catching up to SRT Esport East. And this SRT Esport East might be able to make it to the end of the race as well. But Team Heusenfeld definitely can, and they've got pace on Flores ahead, Senkowski does. So this is a really impressive drive from them, and if they can get P2 out of this, that'll be great considering the trouble they had early on in the race.
Quick calculation in my head says that SRT Esports East can't make it on this stint. They have to do a splash and dash for 4 or 5 minutes, something like that, if I got my stint calculations sort of right. Either way, Jan Senkowski not thinking about that, thinking all about attack. Jorge Flores thinking all about defend for that battle in the second place.
Yeah, and Jan has really closed it up. It's been a second and a half just last lap alone. He's got a really good opportunity to make these passes. You have Matthias Hoffman going around the outside there through the S's here. And Andy Banfield closing in behind him as well. And Hoffman separating this battle just a little bit, but Senkowski going to get a good run here.
Right now getting split up by Pierre-Benoit Lemieux, who also drops a little bit inside. Jorge Flores giving a good run for Senkowski. Not good enough it seems though, as the BMW of Jorge Flores stays ahead for this straight. Andy Banfield braking quite early in his HPD. Actually, Senkowski able to brake later in the GTE. Coming back at him again. Getting, I would nearly say, held up on the HPD.
Yeah, I definitely think he is getting held up, and Andy Banfield is going to have to figure out a way around here as Flores is going to go to the inside, Andy's going to go to the outside and try and make this work. Is he going to make this work? He's really hanging on to it, man. Andy Banfield's LMP2 looks extremely squirrely on those high downforce sections.
Yeah, I've seen other LMP2s make that pass easily through that sector. It looked like the car was going back and forth, so I wonder if something is up with those tires.
Now, Dawson, how hard is it to drive the LMP2 through that stadium section? Obviously, high downforce that isn't really there in those slow turns, plus not a lot of weight either to press down while accelerating there. How does it feel? How does it drive through that one?
Yeah, it's the stadium section is very difficult because at least through the S's, I mean, all of the turn from this car comes from the downforce. You rely on the downforce to basically get you everywhere. So when you get to those lower speed corners, turn one, I really struggled with turn one personally. The back end just likes to step out. It's a very fine thing. We actually went between two different setups, and we found that one chassis was a little bit stiffer, and we thought that was working better for us, so we just stuck with it. So yeah, no, it's very difficult to get this car in the slow speed corners. It much more prefers the high speed.
Look at this though, Jansen Koski this close. He wasn't earlier before. Can he do it now? This Porsche has the top speed over the BMW, but is it enough? They pretty much match out because of some little damage that Sinkowski has on his car, and isn't able to overtake the BMW into turn 12. However, Adam, another battle that is heating up is the LMP1 P5 battle.
Yeah, Element Sim Racing Fire, after having to take that pit stop for the extra fuel and tires, is being caught by Satellite Racing for P5 in the LMP1s. And man, Pierre Benoit Lemire is really on a charge right now. He's trying to make this work, and wow, look at that. Good turn in from him as they go through the sector, and they're going to get into the Twisty Bits. They're not going to have to deal with any GTs up until probably the exit of the S's here. So as we take a look at Hoffman trying to hold off Lemire, Dawson, how hard is it at this stage in the game with the track temp as high as it is, 100 degrees? How hard is it to hold off a car like
Sinkowski
this?
is actually trying to take the inside of Hoffler. Actually is able to do it. Goes past the driver for that second place. And now the Heusenfeld 248 into second place. Great pass by him on the brake as we take you on to replay. We show you that one. Just a perfect setup by Jan Sinkowski. Up the hill. He was actually not alongside him, as you're gonna be able to see, just that much better on the brakes to make it happen past the BMW.
I've been genuinely impressed by these guys today in that Team Heusenfeld 248 car. They have really rallied back and are coming home with a strong finish if they can hold on to it.
That's one of the toughest things to do, it seems like, in racing. When you have troubles early on in a race and you feel like it's just an uphill battle from there, to overcome that and get a podium finish like they're looking at, I mean, that's a very, very impressive feat.
You know, that uphill battle you're talking about sounds like my grades in college.
I can relate with that.
Another uphill battle is the one between Pierre Benoit Lemire and Matthias Hoffmann, but mostly because they just ran through turn 1 and now a little bit getting stuck behind Marcel T. Matthias Hoffmann is, which is gonna bring Pierre Benoit Lemire once again very close to the back of the Element Sim Racing Fire LMP1.
He's being very decisive in his passing attempts, Pierre Benoit is. And look at this, a good run off the corner. He's going to use a little bit of boost. He might challenge him here. He's going to do it. Oh, good block to the inside.
However, this gives a good setup for Lemire, where Matthias Hoffmann not really set this exit up. Here comes the boost. Who is going to boost longer? It's Lemire. Look at that. Choo-choo. The train is taking no passengers on here today as Lemire goes past, is able to stop in time for the apex. Yes, he is.
It's up to Hoffman to stay on his bumper because he knows the... Oh my goodness, he's going to go back right now.
That is an LMP1 battle at its best. Hoffmann knows he can boost better out of the turn 12, does exactly that and boosts past Lemire once again.
I was going to say that Lemire should have held on to... that Hoffman should have held on to Lemire until they got back to the front stretch because he knew that Lemire used more boost, but he just decided to use the extra boost right at that moment and caught him off guard. Now he's got a gap again.
For the 181st time, they crossed the start-finish line to start lap 182, but 17 minutes left in this race. The 6 hours of the Circuit of the Americas, live from virtual Austin, Texas. Yeah. It seems like that Hoffman is just that much better through the S's with his Porsche, where the Audi should actually be better of Pierre-Benoit Lemire. Might be a little bit because they still have some damage from the very hefty impact that they suffered in turn 12. But once again, they are on the backstage. Look at that, how much Lemire is boosting. Does he actually also get side by side with Hoffman? No, this time he has to stay behind.
Conserving a little bit of boost. It's just one of those things that I've noticed him do. He usually boosts more on that straight, but he knew he wasn't going to be able to make the pass on Hoffman there, so he conserved a little bit of boost, and we'll see where he decides to deploy it. Oh, he's going to try and go around the outside here. Almost loses the car.
Does he get stuck behind the LMP2? No, he doesn't really. Also gets past the other well before the second last turn. Matthias Hoffmann, though, with the better run through those two turns, once again opening the gap a little bit to Pierre Benoit.
And we have a battle for P2 in the GTM class between Christopher Shorter and Robert Jean de Jong here. And it looks like Robert's going to have a good run here. It looks like he's been a little bit faster in the last couple laps. And Christopher doing a good job of getting a good pace onto that last corner there. And Robert's going to have to make a good exit here to make this work, but he's not quite got it. Christopher didn't get a good exit either, but they're going to be pretty even here. And Christopher going across the track to try and cut the draft back to Robert.
I like it. This is where we're inside that 30 minutes. All things are go. You're going to block, you're going to break the draft, do anything you can.
Especially for P2, after 6 hours of racing, this battle for P2 comes down to just 0.4 of a second right now. It looks like Robert's got a better car as they go through the twistier sections here on the second half of the track. And Robert doing a good job sticking right in behind him. He's got a little bit better of a exit speed, but it looks like Christopher can get to the apex of the corner a little bit faster. So as they're going through this long corner, you can see where Robert has the edge. As, wow, take a look at Hugo Cody going by.
And here comes the battle for P5 in the LMP1s. Right behind them, that is Matthias Hoffmann and Pierre-Benoit Lemire. Shouldn't be a problem as they meet each other on the front stretch. There goes Lemire past, unhindered by both R8s.
All right, Dawson, if you're Robert, where do you try and size up a pass? Do you try and do it on one of the long straights, or do you try to surprise him into a tight braking zone?
I think sort of both. I think my favorite spot, if I'm really going to pick one, it's going to be that back stretch where you can get that long run, get a good run out of that corner, take that turn wide, get a good run down to it. And even if you get side by side and you don't finish the pass, maybe you can be on that right side and set them up for that next short corner and set up a pass from there.
Might actually have to go to the battle for P5 in the LMP1 class as Lemire once again close to the back of Hoffmann. And sure enough, he boosts way more than Hoffmann tries to do it once again into turn 12. Will he be able to do it as, late block by Hoffmann there.
And if that's what it takes to win, Hoffman's going to do that every single time. He's going to have no qualms about putting his car where he needs to in order to make sure that he gets this position and holds it down.
He has to be careful though, because blocking is illegal in the DGFX series, meaning that he might be penalized with a stop and go penalty for blocking. Meanwhile, the battle for P2 in the GTM class still very tightly contested between the fresh Pineapple Racing car and a Terbium Racing of Christopher Shorter and Robert Jan de Jong, respectively.
Yeah, Fresh Pineapple Racing is doing a good job of hanging on to the back, but he just hasn't had the measure of Christopher in these recent laps. Christopher doing a good job of carrying speed through the corners, whereas Robert is late apexing and trying to get a good launch. Both strategies work equally well as we're seeing on this front straight, as Robert's not able to gain very much, but now they have Jorge Flores on the inside. It almost makes contact, but everyone's able to keep it clean and keep it straight, and we're going to be good going into the S's. Taking a look again, Flores just with a head of steam out of the pits. He's able to whoa up just enough to let Robert get by, and that is able to allow everyone to race clean. But it looks like Jorge is now held up behind these two. He's going to have to make it by at some stage very shortly. And that's Jorge getting very close to the back of Robert de Jong. Andre Quintana is also getting caught up behind them as well. So Jorge is going to go around. Quintana's going to go around. It's going to be the usual 3 wide down the backstretch here at Coda. And that's going to allow Jorge to get a tow. But man, these Audis are fast down the straights. Let's see whether Jorge gets in the middle of this battle, and he's going to.
Yeah, this actually is quite bad for Robert here. Unless Jorge is able to do something into the next turn. Let's see if he decides to stay behind or overtake. No, decides to stay behind. So Robert is getting held up ever so slightly through this stadium section.
So Robert needs the GTE car to drill a hole for him. If he can just follow Jorge through a corner here, maybe like this one, or maybe the next one. We'll see.
Let's see, Jorge is going to try to do it probably into turn 1, getting bogged down by the Audi, and now he has the draft of the Audi. Should be able to perform that pass right here quite easily, but how much is that going to affect Christopher Shorter? We're gonna find out now. Robert tries to take it to the inside, actually makes it happen. Drag race now through turn 2, shorter line for Shorter.
That was
Robert really wants it.
great driving by Christopher Shorter there. He knew not to battle, not to stay alongside that BMW. Kind of let him go there in the middle of the corner to get back in line and not give the preferred line to De Jong.
And to fulfill that accidental pun on the name, Shorter with the shorter line, not taking the short stop.
Yeah, but this is Robert's best opportunity now as they let the P1 of Fabian Jungbluth go by.
No!
Robert's going to go dive into the inside. He's going to outbrake and stop. He barely is. Man, everyone's going wide here except for Christopher Shorter.
Drag race commencing now. Audi versus Audi. Who has less downforce on their car? That is extremely even. There is an HPD. Marcel T giving the draft to De Jong, who is gonna break later. It is Shorter. There's also an LMP1 deciding not to take it 3 wide through turn 12, and Shorter able to prevail once again.
Oh no! Oh, that's big implications. That was Ricardo Schiavone on the outside. That was P2 in LMP1 that got collected. That's the Leo Racing LMP1 who had the penalty at the beginning of the race, coming from the back of the pack to P2 and just gets collected innocently in this accident.
I wonder if that was a little bit of frustration there by De Jong.
I think De Jong did not expect him to check up. I think Shorter just checked up because he thought the LMP1 car was going to cross down on him.
Unfortunately, that's pretty much a open and shut penalty right there for Young.
Oh, and Schiavone has to pit.
And I feel bad because I feel like there isn't a whole blame there. I mean, that's tough. If he doesn't check out there, does he then hit that LMP1 car?
So Leo Racing's Schiavone has come into the pits. That relinquishes second place in LMP1 to
And
Hell
third
Racers
place.
Gluttony, and third place to PCDC Xenon after such a good recovery drive from Leo Racing Team, getting collected in an accident that was not of their making.
Seems to be quite some damage as they're now 40 seconds in the pit lane. Already 6th place, and now they drive off again. Let's see, SOT Esports well behind them. So yeah, unless something happens, Leo Racing Team probably will finish in 6th place. As 5th place in class Satellite Racing, they are also about 15 seconds ahead of them.
And that battle between Satellite Racing and Element Sim Racing Fire becomes our closest battle on track now that the GTM battle is finished, and that is between, obviously, Lemire and Hoffman. We've been talking about it for the last half hour, and they're still going at it. Lemire, good run off the corner. He's going to go for a pass this time. Looks like Hoffman's not going to block it off this time.
By the way, I don't know if we did cover it, but Magnus Wellström, he had to pit in once again for fuel. So yes, indeed, they were short by about 5 seconds worth of fuel.
And believe it or not, Fisher Motorsports Pascal Theus also had to pit for fuel, so they were short as well, and that's in the GT Pro category. So that drops them back to 9th position in GT Pro.
Battle for P3 in GT Pro. Still very much hot between Matthias Magnussen and Kasper Kort. Kort right now leading Magnussen as he got slowed down into turn 11 by Paul van Loon in the LMP2 of No Luck M Sport.
Interesting to see as we get into these final stages just how many risks drivers are willing to make. We've seen some incidents come forth from those risks. Just unfortunate incidents for a lot of folks. I don't think that was anybody's fault in that last one. It was just one of those moments where one driver was expecting one thing, one driver was expecting something else, and you know, like Dawson said, they just came together.
And looking at it, it looks like the stewards are going to look at the incident after the race. So no penalties will be handed out now. It'll be a post-race time penalty, if anything. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't make the Leo Racing Team feel much better after what happened to them, but at the same time, that's what you can do as a steward. That's all you can give in racing sometimes. So as we're watching this battle between the Kinetic Racing Velocity driver Matthias Magnussen and Graphite Racing Pro Casper de Kort as they go through the S's. Looks like Matthias Magnussen has the measure of Casper de Kort when they go through the S's here in this sector, especially being held up by Hari Kalen. Wow, Magnussen getting quite close this time around. Let's see whether or not he can make anything work when they get onto the straight.
Casper Kort has got 4 laps older tires than Magnussen, so maybe that plays something into it as Magnussen tries to look or appear a little bit bigger in his rearview mirrors than he actually is. That obviously does slow him a little bit down onto this back stretch, but the draft very strong for the BMW as it seems not strong enough though as they head into braking zone, but he able to brake so much later as that he actually is able to get a little bit side by side with Casper de Kort.
It looked like Magnussen just wasn't confident that he could turn into the center of the corner. He's going to try and get a good run off here, but Casper de Kort doing the right thing, just trying to run his line, be a little bit defensive there on his line into these corners here, but de Kort doing what he needs to do to stay ahead of Magnussen right now. Looks like Magnussen might have a good opportunity as they get onto the front stretch if he can get a good exit. Let's see what de Kort does here. Magnussen staying in line. puts the power down. Looks like DeCourt gets a little bit loose. Magnussen a little bit loose as well. Magnussen's got a run. DeCourt's looking to the inside, hinting over. Looks like he's going to try and block it off. But Magnussen's going to lunge it, looks like. Here he goes.
Here he goes indeed. Casper caught a little bit wide on the apex, not able to turn in. But Magnussen worse on the acceleration, and Casper once again prevails. And we're getting word that these guys are gonna get a white flag next time by, as PCDC Motorsports Argon now coming through, or rather up to the penultimate turn, and now at the apex of the penultimate turn. 1 minute 29 lap left with a lap time of a 1:47. Most definitely a white flag in the air for PCDC Motorsports Argon, your current leader of this race.
Yep, and the battle between Satellite Racing and Element Simfire has separated out a little bit, but it looks like Element Simfire trying to come back with a little bit of boost. It's not going to happen that time, but yeah, Kinetic Racing Velocity is going to go. Casper DeCourt is going to have to defend again, as this GTE Pro battle still going on.
And once again, Magnus not able to make this pass happen. Wonder how much frustration there is starting to creep up in the mind of Magnussen, as he has now been trying, I think, for the better half of an hour to get past Casper DeCourt.
Well, he's going to have white flag this next time by, so if he's going to do something, he's going to have to make it happen very shortly.
Very shortly, as they once again come up through the last turn. A very good run once again by Magnussen through the turn, but Casper DeCourt with a very good exit. There goes Marcel T. The HPD past these two guys. 3 wide action into turn 1. How is that gonna happen? Magnussen on the outside tries to do the over-under. Actually gets very good acceleration this time, though.
He's got to slot in faster than that and try and get right in behind DeCourt, but he can't do it, so he's going to have to hold it off through the S's, and that's going to allow for the leader to come across the line.
Luca Matteo, though. PCDC Motorsports Argon is going to take the victory here at the DGFX 6 hours at the Circuit of the Americas. Give it up for your overall winners in the LMP1 class. Hell Racers Hersey, the GTE Pro leaders, only 2 more corners to go for them, and they have also won this race in their class. Stellan Lindeberg gonna take the car over the line, which is pretty much a pristine car all around for them. Once again, a very great performance by the Hell Racers.
And that's Florian Hohen going across the line, winning in the GTAM class. A fantastic finish for them. Controlling the race from the top. Just a really good race for them, for sure. Oh, and we actually have some accidents happening on track. As people come across the line right behind this battle, we had a prototype 2 spin around. But this is the battle to watch right now. The closest battle on track as they come across the line.
Double battle! That's a double battle, as Matthias Hoffmann actually had to concede the position to Pierre-Benoit Lemire a few laps ago. Then recovered, and Hoffmann not able to take advantage over him. So Casper DeCourt also stays ahead of Matthias Magnussen.
Right behind them, the LMP2 winner, Tony Baird, bringing that Nomad Sim Racing machine over the line. A great run for him. There's only one LMP2 car left, and that's the Torque Freak car. The CQR car was caught behind the leader, so they didn't have to go as far. Boy, these cars... Oh, that Torque Freak car is running out of gas. But it doesn't matter if they don't finish. They still get second place, but we'll see if they can make it happen.
Pretty sure they can.
On the corner. Squeaker on the corner.
Downhill.
Yep.
But yeah, with Jake Robson going over the start-finish line, we're gonna take a very short break and then give you the post-race interviews, the unofficial finishing order, and also have the great outro prepared for you after just these messages.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome back, one and all, to the DGFX 6 hours at the Circuit of the Americas. We have seen 6 hours of racing, 3 hours covered by the first team, the second part of this race covered by us, Stefan Schlacher, Adam Lindgren, and Dawson Brock right now talking to you. First thing on the list for us, that is the unofficial finishing order. PCDC Motorsports Argon, your overall winner after 6 hours and 29 seconds, finishing the race right ahead of Hellraiser's Gluttony, 54 seconds behind. PCDC Motorsports Xenon, 2 PCDC Motorsports cars in the top 3. Satellite Racing 4th place, Element Sim Racing Fire 5th. Lee Racing Team, a very unfortunate late race incident, boots them out of 2nd place all the way down to only 6th place after a very great recovery drive after a very early penalty that pretty much threw them to that last one lap down. SOT Esports LMP Green 7th place, 1 lap down. Team Heusenfeld 78th. 8th place, German Sim Racing LMP1 9th, GT Temple Racing 10th, And rounding out your LMP1 field was SRT Esports LMP Red.
Winning in LMP2 was the Nomad Sim Racing HPD. They had the stuff and they won big today. A huge race for them. Kept the car clean. Did an amazing job. Second on the podium, your Torque Freak Racing Corkscrew LMP2 car with a great run. The only car to finish overall 12 laps down, so they ended up running out of fuel at the end. Then we have the CQR car finishing in the third and final podium spot. Then we go to Team Heusgenfeld, who had pace all day but caught up in a couple of wrecks. Adequate Racing gonna finish fifth. German Sim Racing sixth. Team Viking, we didn't talk much about them. They finish in seventh. No Luck EM Sport eighth. World of Sim Racing ninth. Real Pixel 10th, and rounding out V Apex Racing Group Blue.
In the GT Pro category, we have Hellraiser's Heresy coming home with the win today. That is going to be Stone Lindenberg who brought it across the line. Team Heusingfeld 248 after the early incident. A good recovery drive for them, coming home in second position. Then we have Graphite Racing Pro with Casper de Court coming home in the third position, holding off a hard-charging Matthias Magnussen in Kinetic Racing Velocity for P4. Then we have P5, it's SRT Esport East that had to take an extra pit stop before the end of the race, along with MB Esport Racing. Thomas Harrison who comes home in the P6. Then we have F4H Racing Redgate, P7. Kinetic Racing Speed comes home in P8. Fisher Motorsport, after they also had to take an extra pit stop for fuel and a little bit of tires, they come home in P9 today. Element Sim Racing Water comes home P10, with Motive Esports Podcast Pink in 11th place. Kinetic Racing Surge 12th. 13th is going to go to Motive Esports Podcast Lime, and then Speed Tech Sim Sport 239 finishing out in 14th position.
TSB Racing, your winner in the GTM class, pretty much uncontested for nearly all of the race, finishing at the very end 1 lap ahead of second place Fresh Pineapple Racing, because the leader was actually between them, but there was pretty much 20 seconds at the very end between TSB Racing and Fresh Pineapple Racing. Graphite Racing M, third place to them. Terbium Racing, they were very long in second place, had also to do a little bit of a short pit stop to make it to the end. Real Pixel Motorsports 3, they finished in 5th place. Isagi Racing 6th, Wall of Sim Racing Team Junior 7th, and Team Vikings Midgard finishing out your teams that have finished 44th overall to them. Now, DNFs, not too many, only 10 of them, led by Chunky Pineapple Racing, Texans, Fitzy Motorsports, Talk Freak Racing, Megas, Energy Racing, Audi, SKS Tribute, leading the race very long, fighting for the race lead very long, with a very unfortunate incident there. The race was cut short by 98 laps at the very end. Talk Freak Racing Sunset 50th, Speed Tech Simsport number 339 51st, Funky Pineapple Racing 52nd, Fach Auto Tech Sim Racing the 1101, 139 laps at the very end behind everyone. They're also the last car to take the green flag. Hex Racing Team Purple and S-Rock Racing didn't take the green flag here today. Not taking the green flag and taking the checkered flag though, Adrian Revsness. After 6 hours of racing, how do you feel?
I feel amazing. That was incredible. Our second time doing a DGFX race with me and my teammates, and our second win. So I couldn't be happier.
Now, if you can still recall about 6 hours ago, how is the first class interaction, especially with the GTMs? Were you nervous coming up to them, or did you know you have everything under control with them?
It's not always that easy. The pace difference is quite different. So, in some cases, you just sort of go for it and hope for the best. But having had some practice during the week, knowing when to overtake, when not to overtake, I felt confident that we would manage all the traffic.
Speaking about traffic, I think you were also involved in the 3 car crash with SKS Tribute, an LMP2, and yourself, or might have been your sister car. Either way, very lucky to come out on top of that one still, and at the very end, 54 seconds, very unchallenged in that last stint. Were you already in a resignation mode by then?
Well, we had a pretty rough start. 11 minutes into the race, we had an accident with another car, so we flipped around and had 1 minute and 40 seconds of repairs. So that put us back 1 lap behind the leaders. Then, luckily, we got the safety car halfway through the race. That put us back on the lead lap, and I felt we were able to keep up with the quicker guys. Even though we qualified in P5 before the race, we didn't really feel like we had the pace this time around. So we're just extremely happy to get the result today, and yeah, I couldn't be more proud of our own effort and the effort of our sister car, which also got a podium finish today. So extremely proud and happy for the team.
Yeah, exactly. You sent a double result for PCDC Motorsports, not only first but also third place. A double the reason to celebrate this win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great result for us.
Well, Adrian, thank you very much for talking to us. And yeah, have fun celebrating this win.
Thank you.
That was your winner of the LMP1 class. Next up, it's Jake Robson and Ryan Walker talking to Dawson Brock.
Yep, we have our P2 second place finishers. Jake, Ryan, you guys did a great job today bringing that car home. You brought it all the way from the back of the field up to the front. What was the strategy today?
Saving a lot of fuel, I think, is the how it went. I've just spent about 2 hours saving fuel. So, yeah, not the most enjoyable of drives, but at the same time, it was fun to kind of manage it and just keep the gaps where it was while still doing some decent times, I thought. So, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, no, I know we talked to you, Ryan, about the traffic and how difficult that was to manage. But Jake, did you have the same problems, or how was traffic?
I was quite surprised, really. I thought the GT3 would be more of a problem, but I actually found that some of the LMP ones were more of a problem, I guess you could say. But overall, I expected it to be worse, but it was actually quite good. I don't know how often a DGFX race gets 1 caution, but it's pretty good going.
So what are we looking at for next round? I know we're going to Belle Isle. I guess it's a very rough track. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. I think it's one of those tracks that you can't really push around there. If you overdrive or overpush it, and you make a mistake, it'll bite you. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a terrifying thought, but on the other hand, it's one of my favourite tracks, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, we'll let you say your final words and then get you out of here.
Just like to thank both you guys on driving. I'd like to thank David Bearclaw on the good strategy on getting the fuel correct, and just to our sponsors, TeamSpeak and Infinity Decals.
Yep, yeah, same as Jake. Yeah, nothing more to.
All right, well, thanks, guys, for stopping in. That is your P2 position finishers in LMP2.
Yep, and next up we're going to talk to P2 in the GT Pro category. This is going to be with Jan Stankowski. Jan, fantastic finish today, especially after some trouble early on. How'd you guys climb back?
Well, fighting, I would say. Wasn't easy with the car, with some damage. So yeah, we're looking into another strategy, to pit early, then in the end to get fresh tires, and try to hold them until the end. Maybe looking for caution after that early pit stop. Yeah, and even without a caution, it worked quite well. I think with P2, and yeah, with what happened in the race, we can be very, very happy.
Yeah, definitely. As you continued to go throughout that race, how difficult was the traffic around here? How challenging was it when you were racing against those LMP2s, and especially passing the GTM cars around this track?
All in all, it was yeah, better than I expected, I have to say. Everyone behaved most of the times. A few times were close calls. Some people were diving pretty late into some corners where, yeah, for example, we with the GTE car were not really slower than an LMP1 or LMP2 car. So yeah, that was sometimes a bit close, too close for comfort. So yeah, but in the end, it worked out. But yeah, I think sometimes a bit more caution from the LMPs would be nice, because when you're going into a corner looking for the apex and then have to release the brakes, throttle whatever you were on, and open the steering, it might happen that you also collect them. So yeah, that would be nice. But overall, it was very good, and I think better than in Watson's Glen last time.
Definitely. Well, fantastic finish today, Jan, and congrats to your whole team on completing these 6 hours and coming home in second. Great work today.
Thank you, and congratulations to the other winners.
All right, that was Jan Stankowski, P2 in the GT Pro category. And now we have Richard Bell.
Yeah, Richard Bell, third place in GTM class. Now, not the most eventful race, I would say. However, still a very successful one.
Oh, I mean, from the cockpit, it felt really eventful. At least from where I was sitting, the yellow caused like everyone's strategies changed. We weren't sure exactly how things were going to shake out until the last half an hour, maybe. There was that big spin that happened, and we grabbed a place from that. Yeah, from where I was sitting, it was a really exciting race. Exhausting, but very exciting.
Yeah, at the very end, you finished a lap down on the leader, but that was only because the overall leader was between yourself and first place. Now, the Audi, it's a one car class. How does that change your approach from GT3 racing to just Audi racing?
Well, I mean, obviously, all our classes is balanced. Like, there's has to be some changes in power and all that stuff between the other classes, which I get that. I think that for us, it's really down to practice time and did you have a good setup. I think it was interesting. There was a lot of really good practicing that happened yesterday, and I think it was a little obvious who was in those practices going through traffic and learning the traffic. That was a massive speed advantage for us, facilitating traffic. I mean, obviously, you're going to have some bobbles here and there. I think for the most part, everybody was doing their honest best, which is great. We had a couple close calls, but I mean, it was 6 hours at Coda. What are you going to do? But I think, yeah, for the GTM piece, it's really just focus on your setup, focus on knowing the track inside out, and make sure that you can deal with traffic the best you can.
Well, dealing with traffic on Coda is one thing. Dealing with traffic on Detroit or the streets of Detroit will be another thing, Richard.
Absolutely, yes. I'm looking forward to it, though.
We're doing that as well. Thank you very much for talking to us, Richard, and congrats once again on your third place.
Thank you so much for the time. Take care.
That was your third place finisher, Richard Bell. Next up, another Bell, but it's Julian Bell alongside Casper Cordia, number 292, third place finisher in GT Pro.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, fantastic finish tonight, and especially really congrats to you, Casper, for holding off Kinetic Racing Velocity as they were charging late in the race. How was that battle?
Yeah, it was intense. I still had to make my field numbers even while I was defending from him. So I ended up having to do, I think it was a Hamilton at Abu Dhabi, through the slow corners to the S's, just lifting there instead of into the braking zones. But I guess thanks to them as well for keeping it clean, having a clean fight.
Yeah, it looked like Matthias had the pace on you through the corners, but I guess now learning that you were saving fuel, that makes it all the more impressive. How was the rest of the race for you guys today throughout, especially considering how much the temperatures fluctuated on track?
That was a whirlwind. I think the fact that there was only one full course yellow really just threw everybody off for strategy, us included. We were kind of relying on a second one to come out, which is what put us into the fuel saving mode that we had to do on double stinted tires at the end of the race. And just something else that to what Casper had said, shout out to the Connect team again. I was battling with them earlier in the race as well, and it was just great close battling.
Yeah, speaking of the fuel numbers, how close were you guys at the end there?
At the line, I think I had 0.2 liters left.
That's shaving it pretty close, guys. Well, speaking of close, we got a race next time out with close walls. You guys are going to Belle Isle. What are your thoughts going into that race?
Honestly, I think we had last season we had Barber, and everyone beforehand thought it was going to be a disaster of a race because it was such a tiny track. But looking at how this race went with one yellow, I mean, no one would have ever predicted that, especially after practice yesterday. And looking at how Barber went last year, I think it's going to be fine. I think people will realize that they have to take more caution. So, I mean, there's always going to be incidents with 55 cars on track, but
Agreed.
I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I think as exhausted as I am right now after this race, I think Belle Isle might be even that more insane. Just the level of concentration you're going to need to have for the entirety of it with walls everywhere. But agreed with what Casper said, that I think, especially after today, following the free practices, I was shocked we only had one full course yellow. Everybody was doing incredibly well to facilitate things, and to, if they did get into an incident or contact, they did their best to move out of the way and make their way back as they could without bringing something out.
Yeah,
so I think that'll carry over.
A very clean race from everyone today, and good clean racing between you and Kinetic Racing Velocity. Congrats, guys, on P3 and that final step in the podium, and good luck to you guys going forward into the next race.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you
you then.
All right, that was Graphite Racing Pro with Casper DeCourt, and we are going to finish it up now, Steph.
Yeah, sadly we hear another bell, and that one is the bell signaling the end of the round. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching here today. The DGFX 6 hours at the Circuit of the Americas, live on the Global Sim Racing channel via the iRacing Esports Network. Big thanks goes out to these guys having us on their staple. And yeah, if you haven't done so yet, click that red subscribe button to not miss another second of exciting racing action on the iRacing Esports Network. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, I want to say very much thank you to Kyle Burney for organizing this league, and all the racers out here today for providing one of the best races on the Circuit of the Americas that I've ever seen. Also, big thanks goes out to the companies that provide our hardware and software that we use to deliver you the best show in the business. Right now, you can also see these companies alongside June Lalonde, who provides her great masterpieces to us for us to use. Right now, you can also see the upcoming races sliding across your screen. As we have already seen, the next race will be at the Detroit streets of Belle Isle. Very interesting that one will be. On behalf of the entire crew, Joe, Sean, Dawson, Adam, Ryan, and I forgot someone. Oh yeah, Brian Yasik. always a great guy to listen to. I'm Stefan Schlaffer. Until next time, bye bye. We're out.